like my mic is off. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome, everybody, to another episode of your favorite true crime and criminal culture podcast, Thought Riot Podcast. My name's Brendan.
And I'm Malia. Welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome. So you can find us on every major podcast platform, all of them, all across the world, all of them. I know we're even in other languages now, which is awesome. And we have closed captions for all those other languages too. So spread it across the world like you've been doing. Keep it up, and we appreciate you for it. So you can also find us on all our social media at Thought Riot Podcast. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter, aka X. We are on Facebook. We have a Discord, which we will post in the chat at some point tonight. And we have a Patreon. We also have a free tiered Patreon. So come check us out. Come hang out with us. Welcome everybody who is new, and we appreciate all of you, every single one of you. So thank you. And yeah, let's get into it. We're already planning on doing Thought Riot Podcast tonight, and then we got some insane news that the Alibi came out super late in the day.
So we got to read that document.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that first. We're absolutely going to get into that first. So do you want to give a brief rundown of what you're digging into tonight?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to do a basic review, recap of the Karen Read case, what the basis of all of this is, what happened, what is alleged to have happened that night, because the trial is starting. They're in the jury selection process, day of jury selection. So I haven't dove headfirst into the Karen Read case like a lot of other people have. So I'm really looking forward to the trial and seeing how this all pans out. I feel like because I haven't been super involved in it, I'm not in the mix, so I have a more objective view.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. I mean, and I would like to cover it as it's going, and, we'll see as we go, but I want to give a basic overview so everybody that follows us knows what's going on in this case, has somewhere to start from if you plan on, going with us along the trial as we talk about it.
Yeah, no, I want you to cover it too, because I don't know if
it's a big deal. This case is a huge deal.
Some of you that have been with us for a while might remember my failure of covering the Karen Read case, which is it's funny, but I was way off. Anyways, so I definitely want to hear it from your perspective. I feel like some dots are gonna connect a little bit better. And for what I'm getting into, which it just so happens to work out perfect, you guys.
I wasn't done yet.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
We're also going to be talking about Riley Strain. We got the full parents interview posted today, and it's interesting. Let me tell you. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
One. And but yeah, we're diving into Idaho 4 first. We're gonna dig right into the Alibi and get into that first. And it's perfect timing because I was already planning on covering the Garrett Discovery tonight. I even went out and bought some handheld show and tell items to help people.
Love that.
To help people understand it a little bit better, because everything that I've seen, a lot of people don't understand the Garrett Discovery and kind of how data mining works. And I think that a lot of people would understand that if they understood how data mining works in the first place. So we're going to go down a little bit of expert learning technology path there, and dig into what data mining is about and what exactly Garrett Discoveries does and how they do it. So Yeah, I'm excited.
So first, before we get into anything, I just wanted to give a quick update on the Sebastian Rogers case, because that's one I want to mention pretty much every show, because I think it needs to be pushed out far and wide. Everybody needs to see this little boy's face. And could you share a picture of him real quick, or his poster? Do you mind? And recently, I mean today, there's been some talk of the Proudfoots hiring a private investigator. Chris and Katie Proudfoot hiring an investigator. Seth Rogers supposedly firing some and hiring a new one. So far, from what he said, he had 4 private investigators, but has fired some due to them not producing results. Interesting, though. Like, what are these private investigators doing? The cops are tight-lipped. There's no way the cops are giving them information. So are they looking into the parents? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
But anyway, other than that, there's really, unfortunately, still not much of an update in the Sebastian Rogers case. But make sure you share his face, his name, and if you see anything, say something.
Absolutely. And just to give you guys a rundown, so we're going to dive into the Idaho 4 right now, Bryan Kohberger Alibi. I won't make anyone wait any longer. And but for everyone that leaves super chats, super stickers, questions of relevance for the conversation at hand, as we're talking through the stories on the Thought Riot podcast, which is different from the True Crime Talk Show, we're going to save a lot of those questions for the end, right? So it's not going to be more of an updated conversation. It's more of a storytelling and investigative journalism type show. So we do see you out there. We got you. Let's do our best to keep our chat respectful and on topic here. And yeah, we appreciate that. And I do want to say one thing. Apparently, a few people got offended last night when we were dealing with some YouTube issues. I just want to let you guys know that one, I apologize if I offended you in some way, but one thing we got to remember is we're not only streaming on YouTube, guys. We are actually only getting 10% of our views from YouTube. So we're on a whole bunch of different other platforms. So like when one platform is having some catastrophic failures, we've got to be able to keep the show moving and moving along and on the path, regardless whatever's going on. If it's Twitter failing, YouTube failing, any of them failing, we got to be able to keep it going for the other platforms. So I apologize if I made you feel like I was coming at you sideways. I was not. I was just actively trying to keep the show, the wheels rolling. So
and if you
just understand for next time with that. So.
If YouTube's failing, there's not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
Like if YouTube, like their website is having issues, there's nothing we can do to fix that, unfortunately.
Yep. All right. So let's get into it here. So we have just filed today in the District Court of the 2nd Judicial District of the state of Idaho, in and for the county of Latah. And for anybody that is a new viewer, like one of the 50,000 here, this is the Bryan Kohberger case in regards to the Idaho 4 massacre. It is the main case that we're covering. And if you look at our videos, you'll find over 100 different detailed videos going into every little baby tiny detail into this case. And right here we have a long-awaited alibi of the defendant. So state of Idaho versus Bryan C. Kohberger. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger by and through his attorney of record, Ann Taylor, public defender, and hereby files a supplemental response to the demand for alibi and in compliance with Idaho Code 19-519 and Idaho Criminal Rule 12.1. Mr. Kohberger moved to Pullman, Washington in June of 2022. As an avid runner and hiker, he explored many areas of the Palouse. Of note, He explored Way Park. If I'm not saying that right, I apologize. Way Park in July of 2022, and this became a favorite location. After the school year began, Mr. Kohberger was busy with classes and work at Washington State University, and his running and hiking decreased but did not stop. Instead, his nighttime drives increased. This is supported by data from Mr. Kohberger's phone showing him in the countryside late at night and or in the early morning on several occasions. The phone data includes numerous photographs taken on several different late evenings and early mornings, including in November, depicting the night sky.
Interesting.
Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did, to hike and run and or see the moon and stars. He drove through the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Way Park. Partial corroboration. Mr. Kohberger intends to offer testimony of Cy Ray, CSLI expert, cell tower, cell phone, and other radio frequency. That's important, you guys. Other radio frequency curriculi vitae is attached to show that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho on November 13th of 2022. That Bryan Kohberger's mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow Pullman highway near Floyd's cannabis shop. Additional information as to Mr. Kohberger's whereabouts as the early morning hours progressed, including additional analysis by Mr. Ray, will be provided once the state provides discovery requested and now subject to an upcoming motion to compel. If not disclosed, Mr. Ray's testimony will also reveal that critical exculpatory evidence further corroborating Mr. Kohberger's alibi was either not preserved or has been withheld. Dated this 17th day of April 2024, Ann C. Taylor, Public Defender, Kootenai County Public Defender. Okay.
Has been not preserved or withheld. Cy
Yes.
Ray, he is going to be their expert.
Yes. So Cy Ray, I would assume. Did it say his title up there? I just tech expert. Okay. So Cy Ray, curriculum vitae, work history, Burning Mountain Productions, DBA Socialite Crime Club. Okay. I'm curious what that is. President, executive, and producer. Okay. So it's his own company. Gotcha. LexisNexis. Okay, so I do know LexisNexis very well, actually. Special Services director
in Washington, D.C.
Okay, director of the entire corporation.
Wow, what does that mean?
I mean, and LexisNexis is notoriously Fed. Notoriously works with the feds, for the feds, and on Fed.
And that's in Washington, D.C., where he was at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
So clearly that is something.
So ZX Inc., president and founder. Okay, so Gilbert Police Department. Interesting.
What? He left phones and became an officer?
No. We're working backwards.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working
So he
backwards.
was an officer first.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gilbert Police Department, 99 through 2014. So sergeant, officer, and SWAT in Gilbert, Arizona. Phoenix Training Council, owner and trainer. Okay. Show Low Police Department.
In Arizona
also. And then military. Okay. So military is a really big deal, especially in that area of the country where, it's coveted, and it should be. I have my hat's off always and forever for people that put themselves on the line to protect this country. Absolutely, always. So,
he went to Afghanistan.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so applicable experience, 20 years of law enforcement experience, 5 years of patrol operations, 13 years of criminal investigations, 7 including violent crime, 3 as a detective sergeant in violent crime investigations, 2 years on the criminal apprehension team, 1 year on undercover operations in Afghanistan. Wow.
Mhm.
8 years SWAT tactical operations experience, 7 years instructor operator of law enforcement training company, 10 years of expert witness case consultant experience, ZX, testified over 100 times in state and federal courts. All casework prior to 11/2023 was as a prosecution witness. No way.
Yeah.
Advise/peer review on over 2,000 criminal investigations, U.S. federal cases, state and local law enforcement. This is a very credible expert.
Yeah. I'm going to be a little critical on his background. I got to be honest, but I'm going to be respectful with it too.
Look, criminal investigations on cartel syndicates, gang-related homicides, robbery investigations, over 100 kidnapping.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 involving SA, property crime, auto theft, wildlife, arson.
Yeah.
So what are you going to be critical of?
Here, we'll get through it real quick. So supervision of investigants. So he was on vice operations, undercover operations, 30 investigators during complex and dynamic cases. Okay. Specialty training in reference and criminal investigation. So bullet trajectory, blood spatter, crime scene. This is what I want to see. So cell phone analysis. Okay. Does it go into details though? Interviewing, interrogation, military units, interview techniques. So what? Waterboarding? Just kidding. Statement analysis, terrorism investigation response, kidnapping, narcotic recruiting, undercover, DEA cartel experience, DEA task force experience, including outlaw motorcycle gangs, syndicates. Funny, we were just talking about that the other day. High risk surveillance, street jumps, Arizona for both tactical and investigative elements. Gang investigations, use of RF technology, radio frequency collection and targeting of mobile device for both tactical operations and investigative resource. So this is important right here, as it pertains. Over 1,000 missions in the field locating cellular devices. Okay, I would love to know how. Provide instruction on this subject matter, provide expert testimony on this subject matter, have consulted with private industry, Rolls-Royce, Boeing, on development hardware and software solutions for law enforcement and military application. Okay, and then we have additional SWAT related. Okay, so here's the next applicable.
That's the smallest one. Oh.
So cellular tracking and operations in tactical environment, tactical environment, instructor development of training tactical units interrogated into high risk cellular tracking missions in the field. So
okay, is there any
that's
other
interesting, and that's a really good one too, and I'll explain why once we get to the end of this. Let me see what else.
Look, there was something about cell phones.
Yep, right here.
No, go back up.
Yeah, fields of expertise, cell phone and radio frequency.
Go back up.
What? We just covered this.
Oh, okay. You must have.
So,
okay.
Cell
Never
phone
mind.
and radio frequency devices, extensive background in cellular devices in reference to criminal investigations, subject matter expert in call detail record analysis. I mean, historical tracking, real-time physical tracking of mobile devices, geolocation. So that's what I want to see. Okay, right there. Geolocation, site surveys, and RF identification. Okay. I was a little worried so far reading it. Extensive use of DRT tracking equipment, and that's digital receiver technology, technical applications of TSME, TSMA, scanning equipment. That won't apply here, but experience in denial of service. So RF jamming. So that is going to be your dirt boxes that everyone talks about. Data collection, black phone operations, provided expert court testimony, recognized nationally from international chiefs of police, designated radio frequency, direct wireless devices, sensors, development and implementation of national cell tower database for the United States. I mean, okay. Database has coverage areas defined for each sector, over 3.1 million coverage overlays, extensive RF mapping and link budget analysis completed in multiple environments. Yeah. Automated call detail record processing. So ZX must have specifically to do with our GPS towering is what I'm assuming here.
Wow, yeah.
Automated call detail record processing responsible for program development, implementation, standardized call details, instructor for all courses. ZX is a 40-hour advanced certification course. So that is a little concerning. You can't learn this stuff in 40 hours, literally impossible. Over 15 years experience in developing training outlines, objective PowerPoint presentations. Okay. I bet that is the rest of it. Okay, so this is super interesting. So
So what do you think about his experience?
I'm going to be critical. For one, this is exactly what I expected to see from the Alibi. And we've talked about this many times, you guys, that the only way we're going to be able to get anything from Bryan Kohberger's Alibi or from law enforcement is if they're using background application data. It is literally the only way we're going to get it. And that's exactly what that technology is. And I'm not sure if most people realize that. And why I'm saying that is because Jennifer Coffindaffer posted something on Twitter from the time that this released, from the time that we went live. Okay. And she said something along the lines of, oh, wow, you know, he was out driving, looking at the stars and the moon, using cell phone technology. That's not true. And that's not what we're seeing here. Okay. What this experience implies from this guy is geo-blended data. Okay. He specifically has experience in RF technology, which is radio frequency technology. So our cell towers do not run off of radio frequency technology. It runs off of radio frequency technology is our GPS systems,
Right.
which is separate from our cell phone systems, completely separate. So the GPS chip in our cell phones is bought, paid for, and installed by the manufacturer. So if Bryan has an iPhone, then Apple bought the GPS chip that went in the phone that communicates with the RF technology and GPS to give location services in applications on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about triangulation, that is more reliable if you have the coverage, but they don't have the coverage in Moscow. We know that. Do they have cell phone triangulation coverage? What did it say on here? Hang on. It was east or let me pull up this picture. Okay, so going back here, it says Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours. Okay, but where? Okay, right here. It will show that Bryan Kohberger's device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho, effectively meaning that Bryan Kohberger did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway. Okay, so is there good cell coverage in that area? I'm going to have to find out. It's not something I can just pull up here. It's
You mean going across the highway from Washington?
They're saying he didn't do that. They're saying that Bryan Kohberger's phone will show that he is south of Pullman and west of Moscow. So essentially, they're just saying he was south of Pullman and did not travel east on the highway they're claiming they picked him up on.
They're claiming he didn't go to Moscow.
It doesn't say that in there. They said
west of Moscow.
It says that he didn't go on that highway.
Well, where is that park? Whatever park?
Huawei?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but it just says
Okay, let me look
including
it
that
up.
park. So while you look it up now, this is exactly what I expected to see, you guys. Exactly, like identical what I expected to see. And I don't know if some of you have been on our cell phone technology videos or watched our cell phone and GPS technology videos. But we've been talking about the background application and GPS and geo-blended data nonstop. We expected it to be this, okay? More than likely what we're going to see is we're going to, and I'll get to the Garrett Discovery, but we're going to see them highlight a specific application, okay? And I'll be able to tell you guys which one. But they're going to be highlighting a specific application. This expert is going to come up there and say, look, using the GPS location of this specific application, we're going to be able to prove that Bryan Kohberger was in this area using the GPS data from this application. I assume this expert is going to give testimony on why it's reliable. I'm assuming he's going to give the people the breakdown of GPS that we will post in here. We did a GPS video talking about why GPS, which is AKA radio frequency, which travels at the speed of light, why, as long as you have a clear signal to your device, it can be the most pinpoint down to less than 12 inches accurate.
So Wawaway County Park is southwest of Pullman by Lower Granite Lake. It is a pretty good distance, actually. I was not expecting it to be that far outside of like the Pullman city. Just the website?
No.
It won't show a map. You want to go to maps. Or maybe they have I can send you a picture of this map.
No, it's fine. This is fine. Is this it right here?
Yep, that is it.
Okay. All right. So can you guys see that there? This is Wawaway. So where are we at here? Okay. So there is Washington, right? There we got Spokane, and we have Moscow and Pullman here. Here, let me zoom in.
30 minutes in the car.
Look.
It's about 20.
Moscow, Pullman, Wawaway.
Yep, it's about 20.3 miles in the car.
Okay.
Which this says this route has restricted usage or private roads.
Okay.
I'm not sure why the fastest way there is showing that, but it says it will take about 30 minutes.
There's no roads around here.
Yeah, it will take about 30 minutes.
It looks like there's a mountain range here, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, it does look that way.
You only have this one option, and it says that he was down in that area.
Snake River.
And it says confirmation that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device did not travel east on Moscow Pullman Highway.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, I think. Very interesting.
Okay, so Snake River is what that's on, actually. I was trying to figure that out.
Because look, okay. We've talked about the 4chan theory, you guys, in the Idaho 4 case extensively, right? We know that it's possible to leave your phone somewhere and left on. So let's say, where this would be a shaky alibi, if he has proof, this is a pretty good alibi, you guys. I gotta be honest with you.
If he can back it up, it is a fantastic alibi.
If he can back it up, and I will be 100% honest with everyone, because remember, to me, it doesn't matter if he's innocent or guilty. I just want the truth, okay? And I trust in cell phone and GPS data. So if there is evidence that, well, your phone could technically be off. Okay, I'll get to that in 1 second. But if there is evidence showing that there is background GPS and application data proving he's here, and I feel like it's real and reliable, that's a pretty dang good alibi. That is pretty dang good, especially if he's traveling
the whole
if
time.
it's moving, I mean, even relative,
like most
movement,
of the time.
most of the time, yeah. And here's another thing to consider, you guys. So I don't know, because the PCA was so bad, so poorly written, I can't tell you if they only focused on the cell phone triangulation. If they only focused on the cell phone triangulation, this is what can happen, okay? So Bryan Kohberger effectively, and this isn't jumping through hoops, this is a very logical, very real, and very possible outcome that anybody can do. You can turn your phone off to its network, okay? You could go even further and pop the SIM card out or turn off your eSIM, okay? And if you did that and you have cell service around you, or you have a subscription to an application that functions off of the GPS satellite data system and radio frequency towers on the ground, then you could have your phone off and not registering with your wireless network, but still showing your GPS location using background application data.
Okay.
Do you get what I said?
I was thinking about something very deeply in my head about okay, go ahead.
People were asking, his phone was off. Okay. We know, based on how poorly the PCA was written, that his phone wasn't communicating with the cell phone network.
Right.
We don't know if it was off.
We don't know that. Correct.
We know that it wasn't communicating with the cell phone network. Okay. So you can turn off your network to cell service, and you can still be using GPS and background application data.
Yes, you can.
So we don't know if it's off, but you can still get located with your airplane mode on, or SIM card popped out, or, you know.
What I was thinking about was, because supposedly Payne did this, whatever he did with tracking Bryan's cell phone. And it's also really weirdly written in the PCA, where it says things like, well, we did a cell tower dump, basically, where we got all of the phones in the area at the time of the crime, and Bryan Kohberger wasn't on that list. Well, and then they're saying like, oh, then, you know, he's traveling this way and then his phone just cuts off. What if, because Payne is doing all of this and not an expert, not a cast FBI agent or anybody who knows what the heck they're actually doing, and it's just him with some advice from an agent over the phone, what he's seeing is Bryan Kohberger's phone actually just switching to another tower that's outside of his scope that he's even looking at. And he's assuming it's going that way because he thinks it is, based off of his knowledge and the crappy cell phone service in the area.
God, that would be a horrible fail. I don't think that
it's just disconnecting from this tower and it's going over, because this is like 30 minutes west.
Yeah, but that would be too
Southwest
big of a fail.
I
don't think that's possible. No. So
you don't think it's just a blackout of coverage?
No, what you're saying is that the Moscow PD, or Officer Payne, only did a data dump on the towers around 1122, meaning any data around those towers where you wouldn't be connected would essentially just, you know, not be showing up and be somewhere else. Is that a possibility? Yes. But I would, if I lived in that area and that could happen, that is such a failure of police. So if you have a suspect, the very first thing you do before anything else, okay, a toss-up between two. You either having a conversation with them, pull them in for an interview, or two, get their cell phone information.
Right. And say, can we have your phone, or get a warrant for their phone? They did it to tons of other people, apparently. Multiple different friends around the area. They did it to Dylan and Bethany. I mean, they took lots of people's phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the reason I think this is possible is because he's not an expert, and as Dan, we just had a chat saying that they only had a warrant for that cell phone tower. If he doesn't know what
dump,
right, so if he doesn't know what he's doing, and it appears that Bryan is traveling in a particular, but listen, hold on, if it appears he's traveling towards that home, then is he thinking even to look at another tower?
No, that's not true. So
what?
I think that's a good and possible idea. However, I just, that would be one of the biggest failures of all times that I've ever seen in law enforcement, period. Like the biggest, okay? And we know it's not true because they have his route later in the night.
Yes, they do.
And they wouldn't be able to have that route if they only got the data from the 3 towers in Moscow. And that's all that's in Moscow.
They got it from the Lewis and Clarkston area as well.
So the only way they would have that is if they did the warrant on his phone and got all of his history. However, if his phone was not communicating with the network and he was down, you know, southwest of Pullman and not east into Moscow, then it could look exactly like this. It could look exactly like this. And I don't think that's an unreal possibility. I think what you're saying would be less likely.
It's absurd. I get it. It's totally absurd.
No, it needs to be talked about because I think a lot of people could wonder that. But so here's my question again. And did Bryan Kohberger have an iPhone? We investigated this, and all his family does. Okay, I have confirmation all his family does. So does Bryan Kohberger have an iPhone? Here's the other interesting part. So this is information that the state might not have. iPhones cannot be broken into. Like, I know we've talked about this a lot and everyone argues with me every time about this, but it's not a maybe. iPhones cannot be broken into with a 6-digit PIN on it, okay? If you have a 6-digit PIN on your iPhone, law enforcement, none. FBI, CIA, NSA, none of them can get into your iPhone, okay? Yes, and they can issue a warrant, do whatever, but if you have that 6-digit PIN on there, and when that warrant comes, you say, look, I don't remember my 6-digit code, officer, they cannot get in. It's impossible. And iPhone is the only one. The only phone out there.
Wait, so if you forget your PIN, you're screwed?
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. There is no breaking into it, into an iPhone. Why that's important in this case is, what if they confiscated his phone and wanted into his phone, right? Where the application data would be and where the background details of what he was doing on his phone could be at. They wouldn't be able to get it without him coming forward and giving it to him. So I've said this a few times also, you guys. So there is a long-running feud between the feds and Apple, okay? A long-standing feud between the feds and Apple. It's because of this. They will not let them install software on their phones to give them a back-end entrance to everybody's phone. I have a 6-digit PIN on my phone for that reason.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just have a really hard time remembering numbers that long.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but I guess I'll switch it like
could this
right
be information they don't have? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. Now, I haven't gone into the expert. But this doesn't apply for Samsung, you guys. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply for Samsung. It doesn't apply for LG. It doesn't apply for Google. It's only Apple. All right. That doesn't make Apple a better phone. I think they're all great, you know, but if you're a criminal, maybe get Apple, you know what I mean? So, and face, they can break into your phone if you have face lock on or thumb lock on, but not a code. It literally has to be the code.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And nobody can get into it. Nobody.
So wait, so what if you have Face ID and a code, 6-digit code?
I mean,
should you just not use Face ID?
No. I mean, Face ID is good for people that could be stealing your phone, but like if you're a criminal, okay, yeah, like the 6-digit PIN is the only way to go. It's the only way to go.
And no Face ID.
No. Because they can issue a warrant for Face ID, forcibly hold you down and unlock your phone. They can't forcibly pull a 6-digit PIN out of your brain. So they'll try and issue the warrant and say, you have to give it to us. And as a criminal, you could be like, I am giving it to you. I thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
One day are we gonna
forgot.
One day they're gonna be able to obtain warrants to inject you with truth serum?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
It would be. So here's my concern with the expert, you guys. All right. So when I am looking at this expert's background, and I want to be respectful, okay? This guy's background when it comes to law enforcement is incredible. Love it. Absolutely love it. When I'm looking for a network expert, depending on what training he got in his DC job, which we need to understand that he might not be allowed to share because it could be confidential. It could pertain to government entities.
Good point. It seems like he has extensive experience.
Yeah, but he has extensive law enforcement.
I'm specifically talking about cell phone
investigation. So he doesn't have extensive network experience. I have way more than
okay.
He does.
What about
way
just
more.
cell phones?
Based off what I'm seeing here, I don't see that. I see investigative network experience. When you're an investigator focusing on network investigations, okay, you know the tools that can get you the information you're looking for. But when you're a network designer, expert, you know how that system is built, you know why it's built, you know how it functions, you know the commands, you know everything on the back end of how it functions. Now, is that overkill in this situation? Maybe. I told you guys I'm being nitpicky here. You know what I mean? This guy might be absolutely incredible. He might have the insane, extensive network knowledge because of LexisNexis and ZX.
Yeah. Well, considering the service that he's working for, LexisNexis Special Services in Washington, D.C., and that's typically feds, and I don't even remember all the things listed under his cell phone experience specifically, but it sounded pretty impressive to me as a layman. But one thing I found extremely interesting in his experience was that he had a lot of years as an expert in testifying. Yes. As an expert witness, but for the prosecution, and only recently in the past year has he done defense expert work. And he's specifically taking this case? It's interesting to me.
It is interesting, and that could look really good in front of the jury. I'm interested to hear.
It's all for the prosecution. He's military. He's a veteran. He is ex-law enforcement, SWAT. Clearly has worked for the federal government in some capacity. It's,
you know how many people asked, like, hey, Brendan,
DBA Socialite Crime Club? What even is that?
You know how many people have asked, hey, Brendan, why wouldn't you be an expert for the defense up there with your experience? This is why, okay? Compare this guy's background to my shady background, okay, that's why, right? You have a military man who has served his country. He has worked in law enforcement. He knows the ins and the outs of investigations. And he, based on his background and experience, has been a straight shooter his entire life, right? Even though I have more network experience than him, if you put me up there, they would be like, hey, this guy used to be trouble when he was younger. Look at his sealed records and hidden past so that he could work and function as, you know, stuff that I can't share. And then he works under subcontract in this capacity. Just, you put me up next to this guy, and this is why I would never be a good witness or expert, you guys. If somehow they got my sealed backgrounds,
no way,
that you know, that my whole statement would be trash. This guy has an amazing background.
Can I say something?
Huh?
So what is Socialite Crime Club from 2023 to present? It is a podcast called Socialites Crime Club, and they have a website, socialitecrimeclub.com. There's an About Me section, and Cy and Carrie are the host, and that is him and his wife that hosts this podcast.
Awesome and interesting.
And they were both cops when they met. It talks about their background from both of their perspectives, and why they started the podcast. So cute.
Man, we should get on with them and talk cell phones.
I would love to talk to him. Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to offend him in any way, though.
Of course not.
I don't think what I'm saying is offensive. I think this guy's an incredible expert.
When the case,
I'm nitpicking. Okay?
Obviously, I don't think we should talk to them until the case is over with, though. I don't think anybody.
They wouldn't do that.
And they shouldn't.
No,
they should not. But after the case is over, we would love to have you guys on.
Yep. Absolutely. We can compare network stories. But
he's probably got some really interesting stories. Well, considering his work.
I just want to know what he did, you know, for the feds.
And overseas, like he was doing stuff with cell phones overseas.
Well, I know what he did there. I know all that stuff. The only part of his background that there is no experience is the ZX and Lexus Nexus. I'm sorry. Everything else, I know what they're doing. I have personally helped set those systems up that they use. You know what I mean? But where I think this guy's going to be incredible is he's going to compare his investigative knowledge and network experience with the investigators who conducted themselves in the Bryan Kohberger and Idaho 4 investigation. And this guy's going to be able to be like, well, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done this. I don't know why they made this decision and did this.
Point out the incompetence.
Yes. I don't know why they did a data dump on homes that are, you know, within a few hundred yards of the school. I don't know why they're only pulling relevant data from this time to this time. This is the opposite of what I would have done if I was doing the investigation. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That is an angle that somebody that only has network experience like myself would not be able to give. It would not be able to give. The only thing a network expert would be able to give is the reliability of the application data, of the geo-blended data, of the reliability of radio frequencies. The only thing that sucks there when I was looking at that map is there's a mountain range there.
Yep.
There's a mountain range.
There sure is. That could affect it significantly. It's a decent sized mountain range for that little area.
Yeah. So remember what we talked about with radio frequencies, and radio frequencies.
It extends from basically up west of Pullman down to Lewiston.
Yeah. So radio
down
frequencies
more a
are
little, too.
impacted simply by your body. And he's driving into a mountainous area. So if you had your network turned off, your cell phone network turned off on your phone, and you were connecting to a GPS site, and you turned and you blocked your body and you held your phone to your chest like this, you would see an impact in the reliability of the connection. That's how weak radio frequency technology is.
That's not great.
It's not great when,
really not great.
They're talking about he's going to be in a mountainous area.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wanted to see if I could get
not great at all.
Any sites on how mountainous this area is. So I put it on Street View. Just on, so there's a road that's I still can't remember how to say this. Wawa grade road, where there's you can see it on Street View, and it looks pretty hilly right here, but the mountains don't look huge right here at all.
Yeah, I mean, we can't pull it up, so what
I'm not. I'm just telling everybody there's a road there that you can look on your free time. You know, it's pretty hilly, but it's not giant mountains.
That, depending on where the radio frequency, the RF,
at least from what I can see,
transponder site, the antenna site, is there, those mountains would impact that.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure they would. I'm just
absolutely.
I was just saying, because I was curious, like what that area looked like.
Yeah.
Landscape wise. And on your free time, just look up Wawa Park and, you know, Google Street View. It's pretty hilly, but it's not like huge mountains like I expected, but it would still affect it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so this is interesting though. This is exactly what I was hoping to see. And I really hope they have the background application data to back it.
I'm really curious if they're going to be able to tell us what exactly happened with the phone going off. Like, did he manually do that, or did it just drop off of service? Like, did his phone die? Did he turn it off? Did he turn off his network data? Did he put it in airplane mode, or was it literally just bad connection? Like, are they going to be, because they should be able to tell us that. I'm curious if there's going to be any argument there about that.
Who should be?
What do you mean?
To tell us that? I mean, the state might not be able to. All they know, based off the records that they have. So like, from cell phone companies, if you're pulling data from the cell phone company, it's not like they can see the command was to turn off the phone. They just know that you lost connection.
Yeah, but if they went through his actual phone.
Right. If he has an iPhone, they didn't though.
Oh, unless he gave the code.
You got to remember, Bryan Kohberger has experience in this.
Right.
This is his experience.
This is his forte, yes.
Yeah.
Is literally criminology work and
is technology
forensics. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. And we won't know for sure if they have, you know, the command why his phone was off.
Right.
We might not know that.
I'm really, really curious. About that, but yeah, I mean, I think this is really interesting. I think I'm really happy to see the expert. Like, they got an expert. We can see who it is. We can see his experience. That's really nice. It's not juicy, really. Like, you know, it's not.
I think it kind of is.
I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people, when they expect an alibi, they're expecting more details, a witness who saw them, things like that.
Is insane.
The thing is this is way more solid than a witness seeing him that night if they can back it up with proof. If they can back it up with proof that he was traveling with his phone the whole time that night, the phone was moving and there wasn't a period of it stopped long enough for him to be able to travel to the crime scene and back, and they can prove that, then this is the best alibi you could possibly have. I understand, you know, the phone not being in the area is not necessarily indicative of him being in the area.
I mean, if it's traveling, yeah, right.
If it's traveling though, and it's not sitting still,
don't think that.
like for instance,
that would
in the
have to be a
4chan,
co-defendant.
in the 4chan theory, we see where they supposedly left their phones running on a video while they were gone. You know, that's the whole theory, is that they left their phones behind on running on a video to appear like they're using them, and then go and do the crime and come back.
Yeah.
In this case, with his alibi, if they can prove this, it is not that. Unless you're alleging a co-defendant took his phone to that area while he went to the crime scene.
Yeah. I mean, it's 30 minutes out of the way.
And then in that
we've
case,
already covered the time.
In that
That's
case,
just not possible.
In that case, then did that co-defendant have a phone? Because if they had a phone, they should be able to see those phones were right by each other, correct?
Yeah.
The whole time?
Yeah. I just don't see there being any way that could be it. I feel like that's like as tin hat as some of the what's it called? Pro-burger theories out there.
Like the undies in the cup holder or Bryan.
Yeah. Like for people that are pro Bryan Kohberger and believe he's innocent no matter what the evidence are, I feel like the theory you're talking about right now is as likely to be true as like some of those out there. You know
I think it's very unlikely there was a co-defendant traveling with his phone while he went and committed the crime. They're also literally,
you think it's likely?
It's not likely.
No,
not likely at all. That's what happened here. They even specifically in this alibi say that the car captured on camera in Moscow could not be him.
Well, it says it's not him because he's over here.
Right.
Yeah. And I think
that's
they're
what
talking about that you know, the route that they say that he took or whatever, that he was seen here and then he was seen here and then he was seen here. So if you from the first spot show that it's not that car, then the rest of them can't be true. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's really interesting. And for anyone out there thinking that this is not reliable, man, I would do some more research. I would watch our videos on cell technology and GPS technology, because I'll tell you, this, in my opinion, if it's substantiated, if it can be proven, if they have records of the GPS or geo-blended data here, this is way more reliable than an eyewitness. This is the only thing that is more reliable than this is video footage, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think network technology and radio frequency used together to prove a location is so insanely reliable.
Geo-blended, yep.
And remember, for those of you that might not remember, geo-blended data is a mix between cell phone, GPS, and then communication with devices around you. So that can be Wi-Fi, that can be Bluetooth, that can be iMessage, that can be application marketing, that can be Spotify location services turned on. I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah, I'm really curious. So now we know the alibi, what their argument, which his defense is going to be an alibi defense. I'm curious, what is going to be their answer for the DNA and the knife sheath? What is
I just posted the GPS link in YouTube, you guys, for everyone on other platforms. It's on this timestamp. Sorry.
What is going to be their defense for that DNA in the knife sheath? I'm also curious if they are claiming the car could not be Bryan's and he is actually south and west of Moscow and Pullman over by that park, and saying, you know, I mean, that car isn't his, like in the footage, like it can't be good footage then. If they can so blatantly say he's over here, and we know that because of cell phone and, you know, geo-blended data, that car cannot be him.
Oh, correct.
Then
It's
that
impossible.
means the footage of what's allegedly Bryan Kohberger in his car is not good footage.
Yeah.
At least that's my assumption. I could be totally wrong, but that's I'm you know, now that we kind of have an idea of where they're going here, I'm curious what's their direction in those other areas, and deconstructing what's alleged, you know, because even though everybody says it's not the defense's job to prove him innocent, in this case, it's going to be. They're going to have to refute every single thing and cause so much reasonable doubt in every, you know, piece of information the state brings against him, that it's going to be essentially like proving him innocent, trying to anyway, because let's be honest,
Well, yeah, if you can prove
most
that
of
he
the
was
world
somewhere
believes
else.
he's guilty. Like the majority of people believe he's guilty.
Maybe. I don't know about that.
I think so.
Why do you think so?
They could use a third-party defense as well, though I don't think they're going to. Nothing like that has even been brought up in the case so far, but we still have plenty of time. So, like in the Karen Reed
why
case.
do you think that, though?
What?
That the most of the world believes that he's guilty.
I think because
I
the
think
majority
that's the talk, but not what we're seeing in polls. I don't.
It's not, I mean, it depends on what poll you're talking about, but I think that it depends on the demographics, obviously, that you're testing. And when we're just doing like a poll on our channel, it probably will show that most of our channel believes that he is innocent, or there's reasonable doubt in his guilt or something like that. I do think the majority of the people that watch us will feel that way, or innocent till proven guilty type thing.
And then here you go, guys.
But I don't feel like it's that way for most of the public at all, because most of mainstream media doesn't report it that way. I don't know. I'd be curious to see a poll on what the public thinks as his guilt. I mean, look at the survey in Latah County.
Yeah.
The majority of people believed he was guilty.
I just created a community post with the 3 videos that pertain to this directly: the cell tower data, the GPS data, and then a more recent one that we've done. So.
And there's nothing wrong with believing he's guilty. That's not your bias is your own, and that's your own thing. I mean, I understand why people feel that way. I see too many holes. I see too many holes to just commit to that. But yeah, we want everybody who thinks all things. Like, we want conflicting opinions. We want people who feel like he's guilty, like he's innocent. We don't want an echo chamber. So obviously, no matter what you feel, you belong here. We're all about the think tank, thinking these things through, learning together. It's not about that. It's not about what you think. It's about how you think at Thought Riot Podcast. But like what I was saying before is, in the Karen Reed case, they are using what is called a third-party defense, where they're saying, oh, it couldn't have been our client because it was those people. 4chan theory in the Idaho 4 case, yeah, I think it's possible that they could potentially, if they have enough evidence from the discovery, like, oh, these people are looking real sketchy. I mean, Delphi case, they're also doing a third-party defense. I think the alibi and the third-party defense could be, like, both of those together could be really strong in this case, possibly, but we've seen no indicator that Bryan Kohberger's defense team is going that direction. But again, like I said, there's plenty of time, and it would be really, really, really fascinating if they ended up bringing up some people's names and tried that route. I just don't think they're going to do that, personally. I just don't think they will point the finger at somebody else.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting my stuff ready here.
Okay.
All right.
So are we going into Garrett Discovery now?
Garrett Discovery, which this is super great here, though.
I don't want to miss anything, but I really need to go to the bathroom real quick.
Go.
Okay.
So Garrett Discovery is perfect to talk about, which we were already planning on talking about tonight, but it is perfect to talk about after this alibi, because I think that the Garrett Discovery ties directly into this alibi, you guys, and I'll walk you through the why I believe that here. Let me just see if I can get this thing pulled up. And 1 second here. Okay, so what are we going to be showing? Is it this one? Yes. Okay. All right. And I've quite a few people, quite a few of our viewers and thought rioters out there shared this with me, and thank you, you guys. Where I failed you guys was I didn't read the entire document. Okay, I read briefly, and then just because of the experience I have, I was living life in my little tiny bubble, and I quickly glanced over it and was like, oh yeah, all this makes sense, like I get it, you know, and I tossed it aside. And that was weeks and weeks ago. And Malia brought it up and was like, well, what do you mean? I don't know what this means. So I think it's a big deal because I don't think people understand exactly what this means. So I should have talked about it when you guys brought it up to me. And so I apologize for that. I just, life in a bubble, you know what I mean? I assumed that people knew what this was, and I didn't think about people just not understanding how this lines up or how this works or how data mining works. So we'll go through all that. It's interesting, one of the links they talk about in here, though, and I think that it's tied directly with the alibi. So I think that they're going to be using it directly, because remember, in the alibi, they said that he liked to go on hikes and drives. Okay, so think about that. I'm going to go to the restroom real quick too before we move on to this topic. So okay, just chat it up. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you guys, I've been begging Brendan to talk about the Garrett Discovery for a while now, a very long time actually, and I'm really glad that he's doing it tonight, because nobody has done it justice so far, in my opinion. I don't think anybody understands it, and I knew he would. I mean, I don't understand it. I was reading through it and I was like, the heck does any of this mean? Does this mean he was following the victims? Like, what does this mean? Does this mean these are all of his active accounts? Like, you know, it's really confusing for somebody who has no idea what the heck a Garrett Discovery even is. Like, what does this mean? And I saw some people try to explain it, and they pretty much literally every person I saw talking about it, I think failed based off of what Brendan has, the little bit. I'm pretty much in the same boat as you guys, where I don't know much, but the little bit that he's told me, I think everyone failed and wasn't reading it right at all. And I think Brendan has a lot to teach us. And I think it's going to take him a while to get it all out. But stay tuned, you guys, because I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot about what this means. I did want to say, I know there's this email floating around, and it's supposedly from whoever's head of this company, Garrett Discovery. And it sounds like I don't know if that email's real. And there's some major red flags in it. And I just want to bring it up because it's floating around. And I just want to tell people, don't be so quick to believe it. Because some of the things in it don't make sense. Like this was done, supposedly before Bryan Kohberger was arrested or anybody knew who he was. Things like that. Just use your brains. We have no idea. We have no idea if that email's real. I'm excited though.
All right. So Garrett Discovery, what the heck is this? Have a lot of people done videos on this?
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone connected the dots?
I don't think so.
Okay. So
not that I've seen.
Garrett Discovery. I'm going to do my best to simplify it as much as possible. And that's why I brought some visual aids here with me, right? So Garrett Discovery is an investigative company, and I don't have them pulled up. I'm not reading directly from them. I'm just going to keep it my opinion here. So they are a company that investigators can hire to investigate into all things technology for a suspect, for the police, for the feds. They work for the government. And what that means and what that's called is data mining, you guys. That's the best way to think of it, okay? Is how there's, I think a lot of people have heard of Bitcoin mining, right?
Yeah.
So Bitcoin mining is a computer program that goes out there and actively seeks fractions of a fraction of a fraction of a Bitcoin until they have enough to put those pieces together and make a Bitcoin, okay? This is data mining personal information where this company, Garrett, will go out there and mine the internet, specifically social media in this case, and find little bits of information. Bam, here's one. Oh, here's one. Oh, here's an alias. Oh, this person said this name. This person said that number. This person commented on this person. And they accumulate all of this data.
And it's a software doing all this, right?
I mean, it's a person. It's a person. That's the one thing we don't know is I don't know what their software looks like. I assume since they are their own standalone company, they have their own software program. I don't know how much is automated and I don't know how much is manually done by humans. Now, people can do this. Like I can get online and do this myself, but for me to accumulate this much data would be forever.
Okay, and this document, for people who are lost, what is this?
This document, based on what I'm seeing, okay? This is my opinion, and I have no confirmation. I have not talked directly with Garrett Discovery about this. This is just based off my experience in the technology sector. This is a data mining report focused on Bryan Kohberger and any connections with Bryan Kohberger. All this data has been mined and they put it together in a report. Now, I think this right here,
the dots,
is a real breakdown of what they found. It's too small to see anything, you guys.
Okay, so
can't
those are
see
all
anything.
individual pictures.
Those are all individual pictures. Yes.
Zoom in super far.
You can't see anything.
I get it,
There's
but
nothing.
still zoom in to like a couple of them. Oh yeah, they are like little pictures.
Mm-hmm. I assume, based off what I
I
read,
never zoomed into it.
that this is the Bryan Kohberger Twitter account.
Can you zoom into that one?
I mean,
So
you can't see nothing.
I know. I just
All
want
it
to
is
see
is
the
just
shape.
a color. They're all squares.
I know. I just want to see the shape of what's inside the square, though. Like, is it a Twitter bird? Is it a picture of a man?
Yeah, this is. You can't tell, and I don't want to like make it seem like we can figure out what those are. We can't. There's no way. There is no way to tell what those are. I couldn't even put that into a software and have that software figure that out, you guys. It's just not there. The quality's not there. A technology company knows what they're doing to keep it vague enough, right? And I think if they had a whole bunch of pictures of people, like these are accounts. These are accounts is what these are.
Right.
So like on our Facebook or on our YouTube or on our Twitter, we have our picture. Okay. So if we were connected to that Bryan Kohberger account, our picture would be up there from our profile. That's what these are, in my opinion.
Okay. So these are all the connections branching off of one of Bryan Kohberger's accounts.
Starting right here.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Yep. So I assume that's Bryan Kohberger's account that they are researching. Now, is this really his account? Or is this a post? Is this a post-arrest report looking into the accounts that were claiming to be Bryan Kohberger? That could be possible too. That could totally be possible too.
That's why I wanted to bring up that email that's floating around, because I've seen it from several different places.
Look at this over here. These aren't connected.
Yeah, right.
And boom.
People claiming they have an email from Garrett Discovery saying that this was done for Inside Edition pre-Kohberger arrest. I don't believe it. I'm just being honest. I don't believe it. That's a news company. That doesn't make a ton of sense. I don't know. I just don't believe it, because it's floating around, and I don't know. I have half a mind to reach out to them myself and see if they will verify that email.
Yep.
And I will do that.
Yep. Okay. You know what? I need to erase this one real quick, and then I will show this.
I love your little mini markers. He said baby little dry erase markers.
Yes. So
it's a little baby dry erase marker.
I did this upside down, but that's okay. We're going to work with it. All right.
So it's so cute.
We're being told that this all started with this account right here. Okay.
Which one?
This Twitter account right there is what we're being told.
The one highlighted in
the
purple.
Different color blue right here.
It's okay. It looks
affiliation,
purplish.
Twitter, Bryan Kohberger. Okay. And then there are a ton of other Instagram accounts. So that's interesting, right?
So it starts with a Twitter and then ranked by incoming links, and all the rest are Instagram accounts. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. Okay. So this is how the data mining would work, you guys. All right. Let me take this off the screen real quick. Is there just a hide? Yeah. Okay, cool. So they started with Twitter, right? So let's just say this here is Twitter. All right. And with Twitter, when you're data mining, you guys, you can either go little or go big. You can connect everything or you can connect nothing. Okay. So hang on. I don't want to have our computer. Okay. So Twitter right here. Twitter if you started there, you would be able to connect it to the 8458 phone. Okay. Then on the 8458 phone, it would go Twitter, connected and downloaded on the 8458 phone. And then the 8458 phone would have Instagram, right? The 8458 phone would have emails, okay? That's how they would draw the connection. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now, when you're into these social medias here, what data mining does is every single email, let's say from that email address, since you went 1, 2, 3, 4, they find that he sent out 5 emails, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So each one of these is an email, okay? Now, let's say this email was sent to Malia, right? Now, from that mine, they're going to see, okay, well, Malia sent 3 emails, and then this person, me, I sent 2 emails, and all of this data is collected. All of it. Everything having to do with this. So,
okay, so how would they do
like those dots is exactly what I'm talking about here, but with Instagram. So like if we did Instagram, right? Let's just move Insta up here. Instagram on the 8458 phone, okay? This is Bryan Kohberger's Instagram that was associated with the Twitter on the 8458 phone. So the 8458 phone has Instagram on it. Now, who are his friends? Who did he like? And then it keeps tracking in the same way. Oh, okay. So for whatever reason, Bryan Kohberger liked 5 of these videos. And then, okay, so what is that person doing? And it gathers all of that data.
So you're saying
all of it.
How, I mean, what doesn't make sense is how they started from a Twitter and ended up with all Instagram users.
What do you mean? I just showed that.
Yeah, but so you're saying he would have had to, oh, Instagram user is Bryan Kohberger down there. So you're saying they would have showed a connection between his Twitter and his Instagram.
No, they would have connected it through his phone.
Oh, all through his phone.
If they started with Twitter, that Twitter account has to be on certain devices, okay?
Okay.
And that's a minor. Like I'm giving you guys an example. An established software program ran by an expert would have way more than this. Way more than what I'm talking about here. This is not my profession, you guys. I am not a data miner, all right? I just have enough experience in the technology sector to understand what this is. So I see like hundreds of accounts on here, right?
Yeah.
So each one of these accounts here, it starts with Twitter. Let's just say this is that Twitter account right here in the middle, right? Can you guys see my...
No.
You can't see the mouse?
Oh, it's so tiny though.
Well, I mean, there's not much to show here, but okay. So Twitter.
I mean, the mouse is tiny.
And that Twitter could have been connected through the 8458 phone. It could have also just been connected by the email. Like there's a million different ways that you could have connected that Twitter. That Twitter could have Bryan Kohberger at yahoo.com. Okay. Then that Bryan Kohberger at yahoo.com could be the login email for Instagram. There's a connection. I just go through the phone as an example, but it could be anything. Then as you have that Instagram, you're going to look at every single like, you're going to look at every friend request, you're going to look at every message, you're going to look at everything. And when I look at this here,
his phone number was in the PCA.
Total number of entities, okay? Nodes. These nodes are these.
The connections, right?
The,
Or no?
The bubble.
Oh, the bubble. Okay.
Yep. The bubble. The total number of links, aka edges is going to be the information itself that connects those two nodes.
So the nodes are the pictures and the links are the lines. And that's the information taking them there.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. Whatever is making those two be connected. So like if two nodes are connected and they're connected by a like this node liked this node's picture, then that is an edge. That's called an edge in you know, techno world.
Okay.
So
okay.
It's interesting, and hey, we appreciate that and appreciate you, and super happy that you're here hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Victorine. We're glad you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, so they say that there is 1,099 nodes with a total of 1,108 entities. So that's kind of interesting. That makes me wonder if the value, the difference from 1099 to 1108, which is a difference of 9, right? Is that, yeah, 9. Are they looking at 9 pieces of electronics? So phones, tablets, computers, because there's a variance there.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
The variance is also 9 with the edges as well.
Yep. Or it could be because maybe they found 9 Bryan Kohberger accounts. It could be that. I don't know without having insider information into their software and technology. I wouldn't be able to know that. One thing that I do know is I do not believe they would make a mistake of letting this information come out. I think this is one report of many.
Okay.
One report of many. And yeah, anyone with experience can do this. Could come up with this. You don't need a warrant. You just need to be able to have the software to draw these connections and be able to track and highlight them, you know, for every command that you're seeing on these platforms. I think this could just be the Instagram one.
What do you mean?
I think that maybe there is another one out there with all Twitter information. I think that there's another one out there with all of his Cash App information, with all of his All Trails information.
Okay.
Because look at all of these, you guys. Like, look at all of these names. So these are all the nodes when it comes to Twitter.
Okay. So you need to go to the page that matters the most to everybody, which is, I believe, isn't it this page? Where are you going?
I'm just showing people how many different names are on here.
Wait, go to the bottom again. Is that the very bottom?
Yeah.
That's not the very bottom. Oh, the bottom. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it has a phone number.
Well,
5889.
Yep.
Wait, isn't that Nancy Grace's phone number?
Didn't
people say that?
So Bryan Kohberger got a new phone in June. I would be blown away if his social media was not set up before June, meaning you would probably have a different phone number connected with whatever account is on here.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you without having the background information here. But I can explain to everyone what this is. I can tell you 100% this is what I'm looking at. I know it for a fact this is what I'm looking at. But I don't think there's any relevant information in here.
I believe that is Nancy Grace's phone number, though.
Looks like a Twilio number, TripAdvisor login.
So if there's a Nancy Grace phone number on there, what does that mean?
I don't think it means anything. I think that this is Bryan Kohberger's old phone number. Look up the 570 area code. Where is 570 from?
Pennsylvania, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So it's probably not Nancy Grace's phone number.
Maybe it was taken after
By
they
Nancy
realized
Grace?
there's a connection here. I don't know.
Oh, somebody took it.
It would be smart. Listen, you guys, I have software where I can just pluck numbers out of the air. I can have, 150 different numbers like in 10 seconds. So if a number's available, I can grab it no matter what it is. So yeah, I think that if you're a news source and you have a relevant phone number and you want insider information, let's say somebody from their past is going to call Bryan Kohberger. Once this information drops that Bryan Kohberger was arrested, it would be pretty dang smart to own that number.
Oh,
would it not?
Yeah, it would be. So when you Google this actually pops up on a GarrettDiscovery.com website. Like they put it out on their own website.
Yeah, so this is not a leak. I'm telling you, there's nothing here. This isn't some mistake that they made. And maybe if Nancy Grace is smart, yeah, she probably has this number. Did you hear what I was talking about?
No, sorry.
So if you're a mainstream media and you know that Bryan Kohberger is arrested and you do a background search on Bryan Kohberger and you find out this number is associated with him and you call that number and find out that it's an available number. So you hop on a similar software to what I have where you can pull any phone number out of the air as long as it's available. And you pull that number out because you want to know once it goes live to the world that Bryan Kohberger was arrested, is he going to get people calling his old number? And if you're mainstream media, you know who gets to find out first who's talking to him? The owner of that number. Is it connecting?
Yeah.
It would be smart. It's a really smart thing. So yeah, I think that whoever helps Nancy Grace, if they got that number before any other mainstream media, I mean, that's some pretty awesome stuff right there. That is whoever did that is on it, man.
So
what a great decision to make.
The only thing is when you Google that number, it pops up to Nancy Grace's Twitter is the first thing that pops up. So I'm assuming that's why people are thinking it is her number.
I mean, there's a lot of other things. We've gone down this already a few different times. We've talked about this.
And what it pops up to is a very specific post.
No. Well,
a very specific post on Twitter about the Idaho murders, and that's it.
That's just one thing. So we've talked on this. This will be the third time talking about this number on the podcast. And I did a deep dive on this phone number, and it is registered with the investigator that's associated with Nancy Grace's show.
Oh, yeah, you did talk about that. I forgot.
I don't think there's anything like amazing there. It sounds like whoever grabbed this number did their job. If they're an investigator, like, great job.
Right.
That's incredible. You did something phenomenal and quicker than any of the other media sources. So killer job, high five.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this account is associated with this. I think that there's nothing secretive on here. We know that all of these little dots are associated because if you guys look, okay,
Yes.
All these lines coming off go to nodes that have more lines coming off of them.
I know.
So there are nodes on here that are not directly tied to the original account, which is exactly what I was talking about right here. Right? So this node is not associated with this number, but it got connected through it.
Okay. But I feel like there's a really important part that you're not talking about, and that is that Kaylee and Maddie both pop up on this. Kaylee and Maddie's Instagrams are both on this document.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I think everybody wants to know, what does that mean?
What do you mean? What does that mean? That means that there was some kind of connection and or association with the Bryan Kohberger account that they're looking into. Like I said, I do not know that this is a confirmation of Bryan Kohberger's account, you guys. This could be the one page that is connected post-arrest with a fake Bryan Kohberger account. We don't know.
It could be a fake Bryan Kohberger account.
It could, but people still need to understand how these connections were made. Like,
don't
look,
you think it
I
could
am
just
Cookie T? That's a real person that has like 1.2 million followers. Okay, a lot of these are real people on here. Outgoing links. This just means outgoing edges that are connected with this main account. Incoming links are the amount of incoming connections with them and this account. So I think this report is really interesting, and it gives me hope that we're going to have a ton of technology-based information coming into this case.
I Am Cookie T is a TV radio event host with a YouTube channel, and she doesn't look to me like she should be involved with Bryan Kohberger in any type of way whatsoever.
It's a real person. I don't want to go into who they are or anything.
No,
like
I'm not.
They
I
have
mean,
1.2 million people
on Instagram, meaning she's a public person. I'm not going into who she is. I'm only saying it doesn't seem like she would be associated with Bryan Kohberger in some kind of way.
We don't know that. It could be.
Okay, could you let me get to my point? My
Sure.
point is that there's so many names on here, and a lot of these people, like Samsung Mobile USA Instagram user, like, is this to say he was following these people or liked something from them, or looked at their profile, or
that's what I already explained. That's what the nodes and the edges. So yes,
I understand
every single one of these accounts is associated with this Bryan Kohberger account. There is one factor here that's at question. Is this a real Bryan Kohberger account, or was this report released because it doesn't have anything to do with the case?
Okay, but
yes.
But they list some of his emails and like his email addresses and things at the top, and things that seem like real information of his.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying earlier. So see all these color coding? Okay, so how many colors do you see in this report with relevant data information? One. Okay. There is only data for Instagram. So where is all the data for Twitter? Where is all the data for AllTrail? Where is all the data associated with these aliases? Where is all the data associated with Cash App? Where is all the data points and mining associated with these email addresses? This is one single page of a multi-report. I'm telling you. This color coding, that's not it, you guys. Like, this is data mining. I would be blown away if somebody went to them and was like, hey, Garrett Discovery, I want you to data mine the heck out of Bryan Kohberger, but only give me the Instagram details.
Right. Well, Instagram is a big deal because that they're saying that he followed the victims on social media. So, I mean, I think that, like, for instance, Steve Gonzalez has said several times that he had evidence that he was following Maddie on social media and liked some of her pictures. And there's even been allegations that he messaged her.
Yeah.
And that she would have never have seen it, possibly because it would have been a request. Like,
yeah, but you're bringing up all this very subjective information that can't be determined because we've already determined the flaw in the problem. This isn't all the data mined details, and this could be one account that isn't Bryan Kohberger's.
I understand that.
So we won't have those answers.
Say this was truly Bryan Kohberger's account operating under that assumption, then would Kaylee Jade and Maddie popping up on this mean that could their names pop up here for any other reason? Like, just because he, like, for instance, say he liked a girl's picture locally of some other girl from WSU, say Xana's sister. And then Xana's sister liked Kaylee and Maddie's photos. Because we know Xana's sister went to WSU. And then she liked their pictures on Instagram. Could it be a connection through there? And would Kaylee and Maddie's profiles pop up on this because somebody he liked their pictures?
Yes, absolutely. So we could have Bryan Kohberger right here, right? Bryan Kohberger as a TA knows these 5 students. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This student here knows 3 people over at Moscow, instead of Pullman. Then this person here knows Maddie and Kaylee.
Which is likely that somebody he knew them.
So all of these names in the data mining system would populate under this account that has been data mined. Yes.
Yeah. So, and if this was done post arrest, all bets are off, man. The data mining is going to be insane at that point, right? At post arrest, when everybody knows his name and is looking him up.
Okay, so here's my opinion. This was done post arrest. There's no way for it to be done pre arrest. There is absolutely no way that it can be done pre arrest. Now, post arrest, all this information is flawed because we know that immediately after finding out that Bryan Kohberger was arrested, thousands or hundreds of that, maybe millions of troll accounts, of fake accounts, of people trying to gain instant fame all searched him.
Yep.
Online.
Yep.
Okay. So this account could be real. It could be real. And it could be that the Kaylee and Maddie accounts are fake. And here's what I mean by that. Okay. So let's just say Bryan Kohberger was arrested on the 1st to make it simple. Okay. Right. Bryan Kohberger was arrested on the 1st to make it simple.
Okay.
Okay. So they reached out to this company on the 14th.
Okay.
Okay. So there's 14 days from arrest to data mined research.
Okay.
So within those, from the date of the arrest, Kaylee and Maddie's social media might have already been locked down, might have already had their names taken off the availability list, and other people could have created accounts that the second they found out about Bryan Kohberger on the 1st, they could have made nodes, edges, and connections to the Bryan Kohberger real account.
Right. Exactly.
So, yes, all of this could be real. I mean, the fact that this is out maybe is because they did it off a fake account. I don't know.
Well,
I think this is a real account, and that doesn't mean just because their names are on here that he was following them.
right.
To be clear, that does not mean that.
So do you think that, so this document essentially means nothing?
It means nothing. Nothing.
It's a red it's a red herring.
I don't think it's a red herring. Go ahead.
People are making it kind of a red herring. They're putting more worth in it.
I think people just don't understand. And that's why I wanted to go into that with the visuals. I think if people understood technology, they wouldn't get so provoked to give a response or have some emotional interest or create a red herring type situation.
Yeah.
Because those nodes and connections could be from anything. This could be dated. So, you know, it's post arrest. So people made connections using troll accounts. This idea that Garrett Discovery has enough advanced technology to pull all this information out of the internet, but then make a mistake by just letting out their Instagram details. Come on. This isn't an accidental release of information. No way. No way. This is simple data mining. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's probably, if they have government contracts, it's not simple, okay? These guys know what they're doing. This is data mining.
Right. And they do have government contracts. So I have the link to the Garrett Discovery from their website, not a document people are sending around through Twitter, through Dropboxes, through all that. I have the link to the actual website where you can, so you know it's official. It's from their website. They put it out. They put it out. Yeah. And I'll link it in the chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Maddie and Kaylee's names are on this. And when I first saw that, I very much felt like, oh my gosh, like, is this confirming that he followed them? And, you know, there's even one on here that's called Harsh. But I that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I was like, okay, so their accounts are connected somehow. Like, somehow, you know? And then
could be. Bryan Kohberger's own name is on here.
But so then I started questioning it and thinking, well, maybe this isn't even real.
What page is that? That's 4.
For what?
To show everyone that Bryan Kohberger's own name is on here. So,
oh yeah,
Bryan
that's
Kohberger
weird.
Had a second account that he followed himself. Look. Right here.
Oh, yeah.
This list is not just accumulated data, you guys. This list is the nodes. The nodes.
Okay. So here's the link. But it's interesting hearing that. It makes more sense to me now. So essentially you're saying they took one account and found every little connection throughout the internet that they could. And then they put it all in this map, this diagram essentially of the links and where they go. And it could be, you know, he liked this person's picture or followed their account. And then all of that person's connections that they see relevant that don't necessarily have anything to do with him.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So Kaylee and Maddie being on there could just be he knows somebody who follows them, or he follows somebody who follows them, or something like that,
without seeing the edges, right? And we went through that in the beginning of this video, the nodes and the edges, which without seeing the value of the edges, we won't know. We won't know. Okay. So,
we would need way more information than this to determine.
I'm curious to see if anyone that has actually came out and gave that description of it. But this is just regular data mining stuff. And I think there's a lot of value in this. I do. I think this is a great insight into the information we're going to be getting at trial. And I'm excited to see. I am excited to see it because
Him too.
this kind of evidence gives me more hope in the investigation.
Yeah, but so there's an email going around, and I've seen it from multiple sources, and I already talked about this earlier, but I don't think I've talked to Brendan about it. That there's an email that several places have around the internet have put up and said that they got this email from Garrett Discovery or somebody sent it to them. And it says in this email that this was done for Inside Edition at the request of Inside Edition pre-Kohberger arrest, and that the only person they gave it to was, or the only people they gave it to was the Gonzalez family.
What? That sounds like a bunch of madness. That sounds like a bunch of madness. Listen, this is the future of investigations. I see some people in here saying it's nonsense. This is not nonsense. This is the future of investigations. This is fog data. This is how investigations are all going to go going forward, you guys. So understanding how it works only serves all of us as the public, because this is going to be 99% of evidence as we move into the future. I think it's really important. Really important.
Yeah, I think it is important. It's just people misunderstand it. So if you think every person,
I don't know who Forensic Frenzy is.
Every person on, like, if you think every name on this list means that Kohberger followed them or even knew who they were, then you're reading it wrong.
Yeah.
It means there could be a connection to somebody who had a connection to them, or he could be connected to somebody who was connected to somebody that was connected to them.
We don't know if it's troll accounts too. I want to be clear,
again,
because
you're right.
These are not troll accounts, you guys. I haven't even gotten into the evidence that backs up the document that we just read, his alibi. Yeah, which is important.
To be fair, we don't know if this was done pre or post arrest, but I would assume it's done post
pre-arrest. That would be wild.
That
is literally conspiracy of a size that we have never seen before in all of history that we can remember.
Somebody would have had to have tipped off.
We're talking about private sector military contract companies with local law enforcement and judges, and like, dude, no way. This is post-arrest, okay? And I think these are real accounts and these are real associations, and Garrett Discovery is a total BA in this industry, working directly and mainly with government contracts. I just think that there's no relevant information in this, and that's why it was released. Which means the connection between the two girls in here is faux. That doesn't matter. But I think these are real, you guys. I absolutely think these are real. I know that we confirmed one of these two right here between desales.edu and the wsu.edu. And how these nodes work is all of this information right here is affiliated in some way with the technology connections or affiliations with Twitter. So there's value in this, you guys. I don't want to mislead anyone. There's totally value in this, 100%. And
you're saying this is only probably one page, or not one page, one section of a very full report.
How many pages?
Because you're saying this only lists the Instagram 14 users. There's going to be Twitter users. There's going to be many other, social media accounts that have all these users and such. And all we're seeing is them highlight Instagram specifically.
Yes, I expect over 100 pages easily, because this is not data. This is data mining for Instagram only. Okay, this is not data mining for Twitter. Where's all the Twitter data? Where's all the alias account data? Where's all the all trails data? I don't want to spend too much on this because I'm just saying the same things over and over.
Where's his current phone number? Like, why? why doesn't he have his
Well,
current phone number on anything?
They couldn't release this if his current phone number was on it. It was redacted.
It was in the PCA.
I know, but it was redacted. So anytime that's redacted and you're being used as an official capacity, which clearly they were in here, it's not like they could keep that up. So I don't think you're going to see that in here.
Okay.
Yeah. Which adds more cadence to the I'll post this, you guys. I see people complaining that you can't read it. I will post this document.
I put the link in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
we can add it to the
We'll put it in the
description.
description. All right. So let's move on to the alibi data within this. Okay.
Okay.
And if anyone has questions on this, you guys, you can reach out to me. Like I've said, in every video we've done, technology is just my experience. I'm not some know-it-all type person. I only know what I know, okay? And I only know one thing in life, and that's that I know nothing, okay? But if you really have questions or you want to talk technology related, networks and network technology is my expertise. So if you have questions, you can reach out to me. But I think this report is important, but the data in this specific portion of it is not. All right. So now going back to the alibi. Okay.
We also need to know if they're real or fake accounts too. Like what are troll accounts? What are not?
I mean, huh?
We also need to know like what are troll accounts? Like where
you
could
mean
there
in
be
this giant list?
Yeah, like what could cause connections with like what troll accounts could cause connections that weren't actually there?
Oh yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
No?
Yep. I mean, I think that's relevant. I do, I guess. I don't know if that's relevant to what they could gather for the investigation. I think this is a filler part of this report, and that's why they were like, here, I'll show you guys an example of what we did. You know what I mean? And they put this out there because, yeah, these are all Instagram users or nodes that obsessively sought out Bryan Kohberger post-arrest, guaranteed.
Okay.
All right, so are you posting that?
Yeah, I'm posting the Garrett Discovery link to Twitter real quick, just so it's there. And we'll post it in the description after the show.
Yep. And then here, I am posting our Twitter in the chat now. All right. Okay. All right. So let's move on to this. Now, going back to the alibi. Are you good?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So going back to the alibi, the alibi talked about Bryan Kohberger hiking and going on drives.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then it talked about in the alibi that they're going to be able to back that up with RF technology, radio frequency, which is GPS technology. That's what it is. It's another word for your GPS technology, okay? GPS can be directly from the GPS chip or background application data. So if you're new to an area, how do you find hiking trails, sitting trails, star watching trails, driving areas?
Google?
Yeah, and where would Google lead you?
Google Maps?
No, it would lead you to an app for trails in that area, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like what we see here.
All Trails?
All Trails. So All Trails is an application that uses GPS and background application data.
Okay.
That gives you updates and information around what's available, in that general area.
I think I've used All Trails before. The company logo looks very familiar, but I don't think I ever had to make an account.
Here, I will.
Maybe it was a long time ago and they didn't have accounts yet, or maybe I'm thinking of something different. But
Hang on. Why is that? Okay, so let me share the screen here. All right, so all trails. Look, this gives you a breakdown of local favorites, right? And I have myself set up for New York right now for this example. So how does it know I'm in New York? Because of my device. So if you have this application and it does come in app form on Bryan Kohberger's phone to find trails in the area, how is it going to know where he's at? With the GPS. So that document that shows his All Trails account is very relevant, in my opinion. And I'm wondering if that's literally the application that expert is going to talk about.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very, very interesting.
Yeah, but that VPN doesn't matter because usability, right? So why would you download All Trails and then put a VPN on some random place when you need that? You need that application
to track where you are.
To track where you are.
To give
to
you
track where you are.
To use the service.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah. It's definitely interesting for sure.
It is interesting. I didn't even put those connections together until you just mentioned it. So there were people who said they found him on some account that's for running. And that isn't listed on there.
And what's not? All Trails is not?
No, the account for his running, where supposedly they saw that he ran, like he used it for running to track where he ran and stuff. But that account isn't listed on there. Yeah, Strava.
Okay. But so I think that helps add some importance to this report.
Well, see,
I just think all those accounts that everyone's getting caught up on, listen, you guys, my personal suggestion is ignore all that. All those accounts that are at the bottom of that report, those are meaningless. But the fact that they're able to connect the nodes with the original alias and location being Twitter, found all that relevant information and emails, and his phone number that he had pre-June, and everything else, that is very important.
Yeah,
very important.
I just wanted to say, because people were mentioning, oh, they had, they looked into Strava or whatever. He had an account for Strava. He used it. And what Strava does is it's like it tracks where you're running so you can track your running progress. So if you're running through city streets, it's tracking where you're running to track your progress. How fast are you doing it? How many calories are you burning? Was your time faster than yesterday? You can also reset the route, you can create your own routes. Like this is the way you normally go. Okay. And you're also seeing how far you ran. Well, All Trails is not that at all. Because I saw it was Andrew
All
D.
Trails tells you where the trails
are. It was Andrew D. Myers when they talked about this on there.
All Trails?
Yeah, they mentioned All Trails and they're like, oh, we knew he had a Strava account, but not an All Trails. Well, they're totally different applications. Like, so it would make sense for him to have both. I don't know. There was just some questions about that.
And they talked about All Trails?
Yeah, because they talked about the Garrett Discovery. Because nobody knew he had an All Trails account until this Garrett Discovery.
And they've been in our chat before, right?
I don't know. I think so.
That's the person.
Andrew D. Myers, the law office. Yeah, I think they have.
Okay.
Which
I'll have to
great,
check them
great
out.
show.
I'll have to watch them.
Yeah, great show. But they talked about hit the all trails. And I just want to say this is specifically for finding trails in the area. It's not for tracking your running progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to highlight the difference because I felt like the difference in the two applications wasn't really noted.
Like people would get caught up, like, well, if he had this,
like they're
then why
both
does
for
he...
running.
Yeah, they're two different apps.
They're totally different.
One is for finding the trails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what's interesting is they both use GPS, which is exactly what the expert is going to be talking on.
Yeah,
exactly
they both do. They both do.
Is going to be talking on.
So I wonder if it will not highlight both of those things, both of those applications. Because say you use all trails to find your hiking trail, and then when you're at the hiking trail, you use your Strava to record your hike or run or whatever, you know?
No, I got you. So when it comes to this report, though, sticking to like the personal information, what's interesting is at least in this part of the node report, they don't have that listed, that account, the Strava account. Okay.
Yeah.
So that Strava account is probably created with the new phone number, not the old phone number.
Right.
So it, depending on what time, where they're at in the timeline would depend on, what number is going to be associated with what account and what users and what nodes and what connections and everything. But it's definitely interesting, you guys. And remember that, the experience I've done, and I absolutely have experience with some of this, just not at this level. Like this is, dude, these guys work for like the NSA, CIA investigations. Like, well, this is high level stuff. And I'm not that, but I have the basic knowledge to give a rundown of what's going on here in this way. So I hope that you guys appreciate it. And I think it's interesting looking at this Garrett Discovery with the Alibi. I think it's really interesting.
It's also different than network technology, like totally different things.
What are you talking about? This is network technology.
The Discovery, the Garrett Discovery?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Data farming is the same as network technology?
I mean, depending on what processes and commands you're using, but yeah, I mean, you can't have one without the other. The reason why these applications are connected at all is because of a network. You can't have this without a network.
Okay, so when they're doing the Garrett Discovery, they're analyzing network data? Like at all? I thought they were literally just looking at links throughout the internet.
So the internet is network. You can't have the internet without network.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay.
So
okay.
I don't get caught up that network means like cell phone connection. It doesn't. It means anything that is going to connect the devices through a network of HTTPS, or you know what I mean?
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Brendan is the network.
Oh man, that's too much commitment for me. I only know one thing, and that's that I know nothing. Okay. Don't hold me accountable to nothing.
I'm glad to understand it better because like I said, I thought that it immediately meant there's a connection. It means that Bryan definitely visited their Instagram accounts, and it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all.
Wait, say that one more time.
Like when I first saw this, I thought it definitely meant Bryan visited the victim's accounts.
Oh, yeah.
What I feel What?
No, I got you. But we just had a super long explanation, so I didn't want to, bore everyone by going back into that.
Yeah,
why the nodes and edges are what they are, and that can't be verified that he's following them. Like that list doesn't mean they're following him or he's following them.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because I feel like that is the assumption most people who have no idea what they're looking at, when they see his name on this Garrett Discovery and they see Kaylee and Maddie's usernames, Instagram usernames, and there's already been tons of allegations saying he was following them. people are going to assume this proves there is a connection. This proves that he was following them or liked their photos or sent them messages, just like has been being said all along. And that's when I first saw this, I thought, does this make it true? And then I thought, well, is this fake? And then learning this, it just lets me know it's not that simple.
Yeah.
There's no way to prove it with this. We have no idea.
Yeah.
It just means
I'm glad they put this out. I am.
Yeah.
I don't know how others are feeling about it. I see a few people just talking briefly in the chat saying they wish they didn't put this out. I'm glad they did. This is what I need to see to feel comfortable that a real investigation has happened. This is real investigative techniques, whereas the PCA makes me feel like they were sitting around a campfire drinking from a bottle of whiskey and like, what should I put on this line? You know what I mean? It doesn't feel real. This is good stuff, man. This is good.
And if this has been out all this time, then what, like, you know, there's been like, what was it? Discovery. They talked about the supposedly Bryan following the Instagram. The Gonzalez family is the ones who supposedly found that, but no media company could ever verify that.
Yeah.
They couldn't verify it. With Garrett Discovery, you would think they would be able to at least have an idea if they're talking to this company. If Inside Edition contacted them, they would be able to talk about it. And if they knew that and had a way to prove that, then it would be in the courts. It would be evidence against him, 100%. Why would they not use it as evidence against him? And we just heard from court in the recent hearing that it is absolutely false that he stalked one of the victims. And they alleged that the Instagram thing was fake too. Him following one of the victims on Instagram was not true as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Like that was stated pretty clearly in the recent court hearing.
Yeah. Interesting for sure.
I just know there's going to be a lot of people to spin it that way. Yeah. That's why I'm making it very clear and why I've brought it up so many times, because it will absolutely be spun that way. And if he is guilty, there has to be real evidence. Like we don't need to make things up to make him guilty. The evidence will speak for itself.
Yeah.
If he is truly guilty.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I see a lot of people, at least in the chat, the normal chatters that are on here, looks like you guys don't agree with this information being out. But I mean, I'm glad. Like, okay, we have some people with actual technology experience here. Yay, finally.
Right.
Because what we've had before is pain making stuff up. You know what I mean? This is awesome. Please give me more.
Yeah, let's get another section of this Garrett Discovery report.
Yeah, just don't get caught up on those usernames, and you're good. Those usernames mean nothing. They mean nothing. It's just data mined. That is the mined data of only the Instagram account of that Bryan Kohberger.
So let me ask you a question. At Garrett Discovery at the company, would they be those dots that everybody saw? And I never zoomed into them, so I didn't know they were these pictures and nodes and things. At Garrett Discovery, do you think they have a software where they're able to zoom in and interact with all of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an interactive map?
Absolutely.
That is so cool.
Yep.
Can you release that interactive map?
No, I bet you they won't. That's probably their software.
Yeah.
So I bet you anything that is a three-dimensional, well, in their system, it would look three-dimensional, that they can tag each node. Each node is going to have the details of every message, connection, like, dislike, everything in between that's associated with the people to their left, to their right, or any of the other edges that they're connected with. Yeah, I absolutely think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool to think about.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's put out there to confuse anyone, you guys, because, and that's why I wanted to in length here, right? I understand how long-winded I am on this topic, but I want people to understand what this is and how it works. Just because we have a document that says Bryan Kohberger and 2 of the victims does not mean that this looks bad for Bryan Kohberger.
It doesn't.
When we have an understanding of what it is, I don't think it looks bad at all.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get the point across, what I was trying to get out of you, because I know that now, but
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted that to be very clear to the viewers watching. And I've seen several people mention that email where supposedly the defense contacted Garrett Discovery for this information. That's in the same email, you guys, that says that this was done pre-arrest and was at the request of Inside Edition and was only given to the Gonzalez family. And it says that in that email. And I have no idea if that is real. Where did that email come from?
Yeah.
Where I want to see verifying information. I want to see something that verifies it, which is why I'm going to contact Garrett Discovery and ask them, like, up front, like, is this email that's being passed around from you?
I wonder, since we made the connection with the Alibi and the Garrett Discovery, that if we're going to see this Garrett Discovery go down. I bet you. Calling it now.
I mean, there's no point. It's already saved in so many places.
I think that absolutely there is. Once you realize what the application there is that the evidence could come from to give GPS data, you think that can't be deleted?
I guess it could be.
Not, things can't be deleted all the way, but can it be placed or removed in a way that they wouldn't be able to get a search warrant to get it? You know, there's been a lot of messery going on in this case, a lot, you know, but like I said before, you guys leave any questions in the chat after this video is done. For YouTubers on YouTube, we have the most chatters, like live chatters. For everyone else, we have a ton of people on right now. Welcome everybody from all the platforms. If you want to engage in the chat, the main chat, we have the most people on YouTube. Every once in a while, we'll see, you know, some Twitch come through, some Twitter, some X, some Trovo. We'll see people flood through. A lot of people in South Korea with language that we can't read, but welcome everyone. So just search us on YouTube at Thought Riot Podcast, at Thought Riot Podcast, just once, just, you know, Thought Riot Podcast. But hit that like button, hit those stars, hit that approval rating, leave a comment under the video if you have any questions associated with the Alibi technology, Garrett Discovery details, anything like that. Please leave them in a comment somewhere and I will answer them. If I don't know it off the top of my head, I can make a call. And I will find out the answer. Quick, very quick. All right, let's move on to the next one. What do we got cooking?
So I guess next I will talk about Riley Strain.
Okay, yeah.
Or should I do Karen Reed first?
But whatever you want.
Karen Reed is going to be shorter than Riley Strain, I would think.
Okay, let's do Karen Reed.
Okay, so really the point of this, you guys, is not to get into a bunch of new stuff. They're on,
open it.
You know, I don't even feel the need to even talk about the jury selection, really. It's pretty boring standard stuff. They're in day 2. The trial is beginning. Like, this is it. This case is a huge deal. And I just wanted to give a basic overview of the case because I know we have
so we can follow it.
So we can follow it and people have something to refer back to. And I mean, just an overview. Like, if you plan on watching the trial,
Malia's fixing my failure.
A refresher. Yeah. Pretty much. I'm fixing Brendan's mistakes.
What? You're not supposed to tell him my real name.
Oh man. You shouldn't have said anything. You made it really obvious.
As you can see here, you guys, in the picture, we have Karen Reed, her attorneys, and this is John O'Keefe, the victim in this horrible situation that Malia is going to dive into. The man who lost his life here. While you get that up, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. I was just trying to find a better picture, and but I know enough about this. You can at least start without me for now.
Okay. Yep.
Gosh, none of these pictures are very good. Let me see here. There we go. All right. So yeah, hit it.
Okay. So, who is the victim in this case, first and foremost? Because yes, this is Karen Reed. She's the defendant in this case. Who is the victim, though? That is, and of course, Brennan only pulled up a picture of Karen Reed. Let me see if he's got a picture pulled up of John O'Keefe real quick, or I will pull one up. But John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer, and he was a 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department, and he was an incredible person. Like his niece and nephew, their parents passed away. The mom passed away of cancer, and then the father passed away of a heart attack a very short time after that. And so he took over the care for his niece and nephew and took them in as his own, which is one of my favorite details about him. Was the fact that he did that. I think that is incredible. I don't think it's something everybody could do or handle. And yeah, I just think it's absolutely incredible. Okay, so that is John O'Keefe, the victim in this case. Now, Karen Reed, which we will switch back to her real quick. The defendant is 44 years old. She was his boyfriend. They started dating about, I think it was the last year of the pandemic. They reconnected during the pandemic. Okay. And they had known each other for a while before this. They had first dated, I guess, like in their early 20s, and years later met each other during the pandemic. It said that their relationship was supposedly on the rocks, but the night of January 28th, they went out to some bars and were hanging out, and we have footage of that night in the bars where they're pretty lovey-dovey. They don't seem like anything's wrong. They are there and with two other couples. Hold on. I need everybody's names in order because that's what Brennan messed up the most on when he talked about this, was the names. So, yeah, January 28th, that night, they were there.
It's an interesting case, man. I'm glad you're reapproaching this because I want to cover this after the claims of how many law enforcement agencies have been corrupt and submitting fraudulent evidence. Like, I want to know. I need to know.
Yeah, I agree. So they were there with two couples, and the two women in these couples were sisters, and they were there with their husbands. So it was Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe and Matthew McCabe. Bryan Albert was in a TV show called Boston's Finest. Him and John O'Keefe had that in common. They're both Boston police officers.
Mhm.
Bryan Albert was a highly trained boxer and fighter. He supposedly had deep ties with the state police department and the local Canton police department, because that's where this is taking place, is in Canton, Massachusetts. Supposedly when they leave the bar closes at 12 that night. It's closing at midnight. There's a blizzard coming in.
Okay.
And supposedly John O'Keefe walks out of the bar with a glass in his hand. But from what I've seen, I don't think there's any video footage of that. And I could be wrong, so correct me if you can or if you know, but I don't believe there's video footage of him leaving the bar with the glass in his hand.
Okay. I mean, is that important?
It is important.
Okay.
It is super important, actually, when you're looking at the evidence of what happened to them. So they leave, or no, wait. First, Bryan Albert, they're like, hey, the bar's closing. Why don't you come to our house? And, they're having a party or whatever.
Yeah. So go to the couple's house that they're hanging out with.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And Karen Reed isn't really sure from what she has said in media interviews if they are actually welcome or not.
Okay.
So she tries to make sure. There's reports that she didn't feel so great. She didn't really want to go, but she did say, hey, John, I'll take you. So she drives him in her car to the home. Supposedly, according to the prosecution, they got in a fight in the car on the way there. When they get there,
according to the prosecution,
they were fighting in the car on the way there. She gets all mad when he gets out of the car and backs up really fast. And they say this is supported with evidence from her car that she backed up at a high rate of speed and took off out of there. They claim what happened. The prosecution claims that Karen Reed intentionally, which in the beginning, it was not with intent. It was an accident. It was manslaughter charges. And they said that she accidentally backed up into him. He got hurt and he laid there and died of hypothermia in the snow. Now they have upgraded the charges to second-degree murder, claiming she intentionally backed up into John O'Keefe and left him there to die in the snow. Well, according to Karen Reed, that's not what happened. According to Karen Reed, she brought him to the Albert's home. She watched him. Yeah, you need to pull up that video. And we'll look at it in a minute. Supposedly, she watched him walk into the Albert's home, and he was supposed to text her and let her, or call her and let her know, hey, it's okay for me to be here. I got in here good. Like, I'm welcome, all that. And she was going to leave. She tried to call him and text him. He didn't answer. She left. I think it was like 10 minutes later or something like that. She drives back to his house to crash for the night. And she said she tried to call him several times and he never answered. According to the prosecution, she called him 40 times that night, asking him where he was, why he wasn't answering, cursing him out, being
sounds like a simple
super
fix, though,
mean.
To just pull the data.
Yeah. Well, I mean, according to her, she was concerned, and she got so concerned she left in the early morning hours and went to go look for him. So one big point of contention in this case is her taillight is busted in her car, in her SUV. They claim she busted it on John O'Keefe's body. Well, they did not find shards of the plastic supposedly that are from her car around his body until days after he was discovered, as well as the shot glass or whatever little glass he took from the bar, and a red substance that looked like BLOOD. That was days after he was found, is when they claim to have found those things, not right when he was found. They came back investigating and found it days later. And remind you, this is during a blizzard, a massive blizzard in Massachusetts. So interesting, right? They claim she broke it on his body. Well, she claims, and they have real footage, which Brendan's going to share right now. This is when she's leaving in the early morning hours to go look for him because she's can't find him. She's concerned. And she pulls out, and look what happens. And this is on Court TV. Shout out to them.
And contact. Yep. And there, there's expert.
Well, and as she's pulling away, you can tell it's cracked.
Yep. Right there.
It very much so looks cracked as she's pulling away.
Yep. And they've had experts watch this video, and they did close-ups on the distance between the tire and the wheel well right here. And they were able to determine that it was hit right there.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. They've had experts testify on it. So the next morning, when she's leaving to go look for him, she contacts Jennifer McCabe. And if you don't remember who that is, she is one of the women that was at the bar with them that night. She contacts her and is like, hey, I'm worried. I can't find John. So they meet up together along with another woman to go look for him. And they're driving around looking for him. They go back to the home, the Albert's home that she dropped him off at. And supposedly she jumps out of the car and finds him buried in the snow on like a snow plow.
Okay.
And she unburies him, like gets the snow off him. He is bruised, cold, and she starts doing CPR on him. The ambulance comes and she starts making statements, okay? Supposedly. Now, this is according to the prosecution, and they consider this a confession. She says, oh my God, like, did I hit him? She's thinking through this in her head. Did I hit him?
She's thinking out loud.
Right.
Yeah,
like, could I have hurt him? Thing like that. Now, she has done an interview and she said, yeah, questions. I'm asking questions. She said, at no point did I make a statement. So she's asking these questions out loud, supposedly. And the prosecution, their allegations are that she was essentially just confessing. I don't think it seems like that. It seems like somebody freaking out, saying, could I have hurt him when I pulled out? Like, why is he out here in the snow? And that she can't remember what happened to her taillight. Now, when she gets to the hospital with John O'Keefe, her blood alcohol, they do like a breathalyzer on her, measure her blood alcohol. They claim, and I don't remember what the exact level it was, but if they're looking back at like, okay, how much what was her blood alcohol limit at the time of this occurrence? They have calculated it that she would have been at the time of dropping him off at 0.13, anywhere between these two numbers, from 0.13 to 0.29. Based off her blood alcohol at the hospital and how much time it took for that to go out of her system. So that's pretty drunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
The prosecution is claiming that she had 9 drinks at the bar, but there's no confirmation of that. We'll see how this goes in the trial. Yeah. Now, what the defense is alleging is that, they're backing up that he went into the home by saying his Apple Health data says he took 80 steps, which is equivalent to 3 flights of stairs. And the Albert's home is a 3-story home. The prosecution is saying, no, his phone doesn't show him going anywhere, even entering the home.
I know.
So it's kind of tough,
so shady.
Yeah. They're also claiming they found remnants of glass on Karen's car from supposedly the glass that he took from the bar, that we don't know if he actually took from the bar or not. Now, the defense is saying this is all a massive cover-up. that she didn't hit John O'Keefe. He went in that house and there was some kind of fight. And because Bryan Albert is this, super BA officer with tons of fighting experience, he beat him up because the injuries of John O'Keefe, which are so interesting considering new information we have, the way he was found was with 2 black eyes, a bloody nose, bruises on the back of his hands, these strange scratches all down his arm, and I think it's like 2 to 3 inch laceration on the back of his head. Well, recently the FBI, they had like an expert come on the stand and testify to that because there's a federal investigation into the prosecutors in this case at this point now. Well, they investigated his wounds and they said they are not indicative of him being struck by a car. What the defense has been alleging this whole time is that it looks like the scratches on his arm are from the dog that the Alberts had, which they mysteriously got rid of a few months later. And supposedly it was because that dog put multiple other people in the hospital. They got rid of the dog.
So it could have started with the dog, maybe.
Maybe the dog attacked John. John started beating up the dog or defending himself, and then it got into this big argument. They're drunk. Maybe he fell down the stairs. I don't know. But another interesting fact is
that is wild.
It is wild. Absolutely. The injuries just don't make a ton of sense. Like, if he got struck by the car, why does he not have bruising on his abdomen or his ribs or like his hip? Like, think about getting hit by a car. It's not going to hit you in the face.
I know.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Down at the bumper area is where the car sticks out the furthest.
Yeah. So another thing is the defense is claiming that they took pieces of her fender or her tail light, and put those pieces of plastic where his body was. They took that glass, maybe even they're saying that it was staged, that pieces of her car were put there by where his body was to implicate her in the crime, to cover it up for this Bryan Albert, who has got deep ties with the state police and the local Canton, Massachusetts police department, that he had, and the lead investigator, which there is an active state investigation in him, the state trooper who was the lead investigator. He supposedly has a very close relationship with him too. Bryan Albert. So they're alleging this cover up was to all save his butt, because this is his home. He passed away on his property and maybe even got beat up by him, assaulted by him, and left out there to die.
Yeah.
That's
wild stuff right there.
So a big thing in this case too is Jennifer McCabe's Google searches on January 29th, early in the morning, about 2:27 a.m. She Googled how long to die in cold, and she misspelled it as in hose long to die in cold. And this has been made into shirts and all kinds of stuff. That is a very strange thing to search around that time when he was outside dying in the cold.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. Really, really weird. And remember, Bryan Albert's wife and Jennifer McCabe, they're sisters. So this is like a whole extended family affair. Family's gonna have families back.
I agree. I think there's too many obvious connections.
And the blue backs the blue.
It shouldn't be like that, but notoriously or historically, that is what we've seen.
Right. So I have no idea. I mean, there's also the fact that the Alberts sold their home $50,000 under the asking price, but there's also
the dog's missing.
The dog is gone.
Yeah.
There is a housing crisis though. So I don't know how much that really truly matters. The fact that the
fact
feds,
that they left quick, I think matters a lot.
them selling their home under asking price
Yeah,
and leaving real quick and getting rid
absolutely.
of their dog. I agree. It's really
Yeah.
strange. It doesn't look very good at all. So the judge, she opened the case, you know, the jury selection, everything, was saying she wanted to state the facts of the case. And I'm gonna read this part. And then, I mean, that pretty much sums it up until we start actually covering the trial.
And I'm excited to cover the trial. I want to
and
know.
there's much more details. There's many more things that we could go into. You guys, this case is fast. It has been covered so much. There's so many moving parts. But again, this is a basic overview of the facts, what the defense is saying, what the prosecution is saying.
Wait, so
going into this trial,
who Googled how long does it take to die?
Jennifer McCabe.
So the woman in the couple that he was going to their house, right?
No.
So
Bryan Albert and his wife lived at that home.
Okay.
This is his wife's sister,
Oh,
Jennifer
gotcha.
McCabe.
Okay. I gotcha.
Which she was there.
Yeah.
So so this is what the judge says. January 29th, 2022 at 6:04 a.m. 911 called there was a 911 call to the Canton Police Department reporting an unresponsive male party in the snow outside of 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Massachusetts. Officers responded. John O'Keefe was discovered off the roadway in the front lawn. 3 women, one being Karen Reed, the defendant, was there with him. Karen had been with John at two bars the previous evening in Canton. She drove him to the residence in the early morning hours, treated by paramedics, he was treated by paramedics and transported to the hospital and then declared deceased. The Commonwealth alleges Karen struck John with her vehicle earlier that morning, then left the scene while John laid injured in the snow during a blizzard. Karen pleads not guilty to the charges of second-degree murder, which must be proved. They must prove unlawful killing with malice caused by wanton or reckless conduct. Also with manslaughter while operating a vehicle under the influence and leaving the scene after causing personal injury or death. Those are her 3 charges. I find it really interesting they upgraded her charges.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that surprised. It's a common tactic to try and get somebody to plea, you know, make it so bad that they feel like they're not willing to take that risk, so they'll go with a plea deal. It's shady. I mean, I hate that. I hate when I see that. Despise it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really looking forward to this trial. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is all going to play out, all the evidence they're going to bring, especially with the cell phone. Because I think the cell phone could be a nothing burger or it could be everything to prove if he went in that home or not.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big deal.
So what if, I mean,
I back cell phone and network related evidence. It can't lie. It's numbers with numerical values and locations based on, statistical values around how likely it is to be accurate. I mean, that is reliable evidence. Eyewitness evidence is unreliable. All people are unreliable because our memories are unreliable. It's not like, I'm taking a stab at humanity. It's our memories are unreliable. I think humans are incredible. Everybody, every single human has worth and is valuable, but our memories, that is not objective, trustworthy, reliable evidence. It's just not.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm definitely going to be watching the trial. And then we'll be talking about it every evening on the True Crime Talk Show. Definitely for sure. So, continue to tune in for that. If there's any aspects of the case that you want us to talk about, let us know, because I know there's also like all the letters that were released, that the prosecutor wrote. There's various other things. I think the biggest part of the information that's with the FBI investigation is that they determined that his injuries were not from being struck by a car. That is a huge deal, because the medical examiner there locally said it absolutely was from her car.
Yeah, which is the opposite of what the feds are saying.
Well, it's also the opposite of, like, if you look up typical wounds from a car, it is not bloody nose, black eyes, crack on the back of the head, and scratches down the arm. It doesn't look like road rash.
Well, and
it
also,
does not look like road rash.
They're claiming that he was hit by an SUV. Okay, it would be very different if you were getting hit by a sedan in the front and your legs were taken out and you smashed your face. No, they're claiming he got hit by a large SUV that has the bottom stick out further than the top. So, like,
there should be damage down here.
Correct. Before the top.
Right.
Yeah. And then they tried saying that he was bending over, but then what would he be bending over for? And would he be bending over looking up? Like, that's such an awkward position. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible, though. Like, think about the kids he was taking care of, man. His niece and nephew, their mom dies, then their dad dies suddenly and tragically, and then their uncle who took care of them and, became their parent, he dies tragically. Now, those kids did apparently tell the prosecutor that Karen Reed and John O'Keefe's relationship was heavily on the rocks, that they were arguing, their arguments got intense, that they weren't doing well. I don't know. Again, we're just going to have to wait till trial and see what comes out. I think that there's big question marks here, though. And I think that it is possible that he got hit by a car or that she did something to him. Yeah, I do think it's possible. Do I think that's the most likely scenario? I don't know. I think something else happening makes more sense. Him just simply being hit by a car doesn't make sense. Like, if she did something, they don't have the scenario right. They don't have what she actually did right.
Yeah.
If she had anything to do with it. It couldn't have just been getting hit by a car. Those cuts to the arm are one of the most interesting things to me, though.
Yeah. I mean, that is, it can, so what a lot of people who have looked at it have said is that it can literally only be an animal the way that it looks, those scratches.
So
and
the
they're
dog
saying
makes
he
sense.
never went in the house, but you can't have those scratches unless you were around an animal.
Like, did the dog come outside and go potty and scratch at him?
I don't know. Maybe, I have no idea. I think when the state messed up trying to stick it on her. The second they moved that the tail light, problem.
Yeah.
I think if they wouldn't have messed around and moved anything around, I would be wondering, did a car drive by maybe and hit him, some random, and then got scared and left? But since they moved that light that we can clearly see an impact was done on, that makes me feel like there's some kind of involvement then,
Yeah.
Man. But no, I'm glad you covered that and updated us, because I'm going to want to look into and watch the case.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Me too. I didn't realize that she was like a professor. She taught at a college.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't realize that before I looked into this either. She worked as an equity an analyst at Fidelity Investments and also was a professor at Bentley University.
Interesting.
Her alma mater. So she went there. That's where she went to school.
Interesting for sure. So we'll stay updated on it and watch the case and check it all out for sure. So Before we move on to the Riley Strain update and information, somebody was asking to touch back on some of the information we were covering earlier in the Idaho 4 case. What is OSINT? And OSINT is open source intelligence tool, which is essentially just a software program that has been created to track and track on whatever software they're using to track data and intelligence that's already out there and open to the public, like thumbs up and likes, like comments, like friends list or subscriptions, like anything that is available out there and open to the public and can be seen by the public.
So I looked this up earlier when I saw it, and it said it's open source intelligence. It's the collection and analysis of data gathered from open sources to produce actionable intelligence.
Open source data or open source intelligence is public information.
That's really interesting. So that's essentially what Garrett Discovery is.
Yeah. Yep.
Basically.
As far as we know, so that document that we saw is OSINT. Yep.
Interesting. But there's like an actual company.
They might do more though.
There's an actual company called OSINT though.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Oh.
OSINT Industries. And there's OSINTframework.com. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
So, all right, let's get into some Riley Strain, you guys. And, you know, this is Malia who's going to be bringing this topic, but this is a case that we've been covering now for a few weeks that it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I just, from him going missing to the video footage, to the stumbling, to being found in an area that was searched 150,000.2 times. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Riley was was he 21 or 22? No, I don't remember.
21.
I thought he was 21. Senior at Mizzou who came down to Nashville for fraternity formal event. He was in Delta Chi, and he went missing on March 8th and was found on March 22nd, which was like 14 days later. Throughout that time, there was an intense search by the public. And I mean, there wasn't enough searching for him in the beginning. There was not. Like, and then, you know, you had the United Cajun Navy coming in and many other people volunteering to search because his parents were down there searching themselves. And once he was finally found, it just raised more questions. This whole time, like, we're all watching this footage that keeps coming up. You know, we got footage from around Nashville, like security camera footage. Then we got body cam footage from an officer. And it all ends at James Parkway Bridge in Nashville, which is right by a sheriff's department, go figure, and a detention center. Well, supposedly there's a couple homeless men that claim they're the last ones that saw him, and like he fell over on a fence or a bush or something. There's reports of that, though one of the homeless men has retracted their statement. And that's, I mean, the police have basically just said there's no foul play and that's it. There's nothing. It was an accident. He fell in the river. However, both his phone and his watch turned off like basically at the same time, which seems nearly impossible. If he fell in the river by accident, unless his watch was shattered, it doesn't make sense for it to turn off. It would have tracked him going down that river. They're waterproof, essentially. He doesn't travel nearly as far as they expected him to. It's anywhere between like 5 to 8 miles is what he traveled when they really expected him to travel like over 30 miles down that river. And they find him with only his shirt and underwear and socks on, but his pants, his belt, his boots, his phone, and his wallet are missing. But he's still wearing the watch. I'd be curious, what condition was that watch in? What condition was his body in? What stage of decomp was he in? These are things we don't know. We don't even have a toxicology report yet. We're still awaiting all these things. So while we're waiting for all these
special
things,
test for GHB? Did they...
His parents are getting the second autopsy, which has been the same as the first one, saying there was no water in his lungs. It was a dry drowning situation, but there's no head trauma, which you would expect with dry drowning and him falling in the river. So while we're waiting answers, his parents have been cooking on ideas. You know, they have a lot of people coming to them and talking to them. They have a lot of people trying to give them tips. They, you know, they're very involved in this investigation, and they clearly do not feel like it makes sense what the police are telling them, that there's no foul play, that it was simply an accident and he simply fell in the river. They're not satisfied with that answer. Which I understand, because I'm not satisfied with that answer. It doesn't make any sense. Well, they did an interview with Bryan Kohberger, and we now have a map of more bars that he went to that night. And they made some very curious statements. Last night on the True Crime Talk Show, we talked about them saying that he texted his mom at one of these bars, she's not sure which, and that he said his drink tasted like barbecue, and it was supposed to just be a rum and coke, and she was like, well, maybe you shouldn't drink that. And he said it sounded like it would taste good, but it wasn't, and that was basically it. But she's concerned about it, and there's other concerns about the fraternity. So we're gonna watch parts of this interview and talk about it, because it's really, really interesting.
Like insane.
This is really important.
All right.
Sent me a text and said that he had ordered he was drinking a rum and coke and it didn't taste good. And I said, well, you probably shouldn't drink it then. He goes, well, it tastes like barbecue. And I go, well, that sounds awful. And he said, well, it sounds good, but it's not.
When a rum and coke normally tastes the same, I mean, that's not something that you really normally tastes any different.
Right.
It has a very consistent taste.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I'm like, you probably shouldn't drink that then.
Do you think that could have something to do with what happened?
Yeah, maybe there was something in it that shouldn't have been.
I mean, even if there wasn't foul play at the river, but if something happened in the bar, that's the kind of thing that could hurt someone else.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you hear about that happening to women, but it likely happens to men too, I'm sure.
From the stories that we've been told from Uber drivers and just different individuals that reached out to us that either happened to a family member or happened to them in Nashville, there's something there.
There's something going on in that town.
It just feels like it just feels like you come up to a stopping point. Every time we get somewhere, it just feels like there's something holding everybody back from fully giving us what we need. And there's just something there. There is something.
Okay,
be it money or bad publicity.
Right. We don't know, but we truly want to try to help, the situation and help others.
Nobody needs to go through what we've had to go through, the way that we've had to go through it. I mean, they're still telling us it's an accident. Fine. Show me the proof that you have that it's an accident. I'll accept it.
So that
Crazy.
part's really interesting. We already talked about the barbecue rum and coke. We talked about that a lot last night, actually, and tried to look at the menus of the two bars that we knew of that he had went to. Now there's even more. We knew he went to Miranda Lambert's bar and Garth Brooks' bar. And we looked at their menu, and it does seem like Garth Brooks' bar had some smoke, liquid smoke infused drinks maybe, or something like that. So it's very possible he had like a barbecue infused drink. This is Nashville after all.
Here you go.
So
he went to Miranda Lambert's, then Garth Brooks, then Kid Rock's, then Luke Bryan's bar.
well,
So that's good to know.
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And the mother's not exactly sure when he sent that text about the drink. So we don't know which bar, or she might know when. We just don't know which bar he was at, which I would wish that they said the time. It would have been nice to see what time he sent that text.
Yeah, it would.
But maybe they're holding that back for their private investigators. They have hired Steve Fisher, I believe is his name, the private investigator. We actually follow him on Twitter. He's their PI for the meantime. Apparently he's been cut out from any information for the most part by the police.
What are they meaning in here? Since we already talked about the barbecue drink, that no matter
That's what I want
they
to talk about.
It feels like they are stopped before they get to anything relevant.
So this is interesting because we saw on the Pascal show, shout out Pascal, that he had a manager on that was supposedly working at Luke Bryan's bar, and that they had a desk. So meaning they were probably like a manager. That's how we're connecting this whole manager thing, because they talk about having a desk. They said basically that they quit because of this situation and people being drugged. There's also rumors from people at the universities in this area who say that that bar is known for people getting drugged at. And they're saying the same thing, that they've had various Uber drivers and people from around the town telling them, I've been drugged downtown. I know people who've been drugged downtown. And that every time they're getting somewhere, they're stopped. Why? Now, when we analyze the Idaho 4 case and you follow the money, who has the biggest interest in maintaining their reputation in that town for the sake of the town? It's the university.
Yeah.
For the sake of the university and the town, the university needs to be good. They need to have a good reputation. In Nashville, a tourist area, if you follow the money, who has the biggest interest in making Nashville appear safe? Well, politicians. Like if you look at Baltimore, when their terms were coming up, and I'm going to go through several examples. I'm not accusing politicians here. I'm just looking at who would have that interest. Politicians in Baltimore paid the cops to make the town appear safer by increasing arrest records.
Sure did.
So that could be done in other ways too, making a town appear safe by covering up deaths and saying they're accidental when they're not, just like we think is possible in Moscow, Idaho as well, to preserve fraternities and the university's reputation. That could be a case here too, where they want the town to appear safe in the interest of tourism, bringing tourists to town. There's many celebrities that own bars here and it matters if their bars succeed. It matters for the politicians if the tourism life and the nightlife are succeeding. For the growth of Nashville, for the well-being of Nashville, it's a huge tourist destination now. If it appears there's a ton of homeless people and it's super unsafe and young kids are going down there and getting drugged and dying, that looks pretty bad. So making it seem like he was just a bit too drunk and he fell. It was all on him. It was an accident.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility here where they don't want to look in further. They feel like they have enough evidence to say it's an accident, but they're tiptoeing that line where they don't want to push it any further and actually see evidence of foul play, because then they would have to say it's foul play.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I just want to give a shout out to Tara for gifting a Thought Riot Podcast membership. That is incredible. We appreciate you. Super awesome. Thank you for that. But yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
Thank you so much, Tara.
I don't understand. I have so many questions.
I agree. I have a ton of questions. So I mean, that's really as much as I have to say on that. I mean, they also said that, they're telling us an accident. Show us proof. We'll accept it's an accident if you
Agreed.
actually show us it was an accident. And they don't feel like that level has been met.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I don't understand why the police would have anything against, especially if they've already said there's no foul play. Like, why aren't you being super open and transparent? If it's not a criminal investigation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If this
doesn't make much sense.
isn't a criminal investigation and you're saying there is no foul play, you have no reason to not be transparent. That whole excuse of holding things back so that the killer, knows something, or all of these things, all these excuses the cops use for not being transparent and holding things close to the vest to make sure they don't compromise their investigation, none of it applies here if it was an accident. None of it.
Yeah.
So be open and transparent with the family then. Like,
I
come
agree.
on, their
It
son
doesn't
died.
make much sense to me.
It's so just not okay.
And I think that they're being really fair and understanding.
I agree.
In the fact that they're willing to accept the evidence of no matter what it is. I mean, it doesn't matter how it comes or the form that it's in, as long as it's objective evidence that they're getting. You know what I mean? So and how is that asking for too much?
You got me.
How?
I don't think it is at all.
I agree. I don't think it's asking for too much at all. Not at all.
So, do you want to play the
rest of
next part?
video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom and dad and step parents with our Bryan Enton.
They've got a mountain of evidence that they're working on filtering through, and he has been in contact several times throughout this whole investigation.
Do you think that could lead to some answers in terms of maybe if there was something in the drink? I would think there's got to be all sorts of cameras.
So we heard there was 150 cameras in Luke Bryan's bar, I believe it was. We hope that'll lead to something.
So, it's interesting because he wasn't in Luke Bryan so long as we thought. According to what the detectives told us timeline this week, he'd left Garce and went to Kid Rock's and then spent an hour in Kid Rock's, then showed up at Luke Bryant's at 9:15, I believe is what the detective told us. He was in Luke Bryant's from 9:15 to 9:36, 21 minutes. He had one beer, 2 waters. Last time I checked, every time you go into these bars, you have to show ID, probably have to pay a cover. And so if he didn't meet the protocol to be in there after being in there 21 minutes, I can't imagine a lot changed in that 21 minutes from when he was paying to get in.
Well, I'm just thinking about, you've got celebrity bars involved. You've got Nashville, which is a huge tourist destination. You've got a big fraternity with chapters all over the country. A lot of people who probably just would prefer that you guys stop doing these interviews.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not going to stop until we get satisfied with some sort of answer somewhere. Because where we're at right now still doesn't make sense.
Still a mission. The objective is still the same, to find out what really happened, because everything we're seeing, it doesn't add up. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. If it was, we wouldn't be sitting here.
The fraternity brothers had not gone to the police when they called you?
Not that I am aware of.
Were you surprised?
Yes. Because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they have called the police when they got back at 3:15 in the morning? and didn't see him then. Why wouldn't they have called the police? I don't know.
So 7 or 8 hours had gone by from the time they got back to the hotel to when they called you. Do you have any idea why they didn't call the police until then?
I don't know.
We called them on the way down, and it was probably close to 12 o'clock, and they were just going to the sheriff's detention center, to the sheriff's office to report him missing that was probably 12:30, somewhere in there.
So 2 more hours had gone by from the initial call.
Yeah.
They still hadn't gone
Yeah.
to the police.
Yeah. 14 hours after his last ping over his phone was.
Do you think they were just scared, or do you have any idea why?
It's $1 million question.
So what happened when you got to Nashville?
So when we got there, all the boys were out. Well, not all the boys, but several of the boys were out front with a police officer. And we had to finish filling out the report. So we completed that, and the boys stayed out for a while. And then they all of a sudden disappeared, all of the boys. And they ended up back out a little while later in their dress clothes to go out to their formal that night.
They went to the formal?
Yeah.
I mean, these are his fraternity brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Fraternity brothers,
Roommates.
friends from high school.
We spent the next 4.5 hours searching every emergency room to see if he was in the hospital. We come back, and they're coming back, some of them from the party, and they're waving at us as we're sitting in the truck. How's that make you feel?
I would have thought they would have all banded together like a search group that night.
Yeah, 150, 160 of them on the ground, there from all different chapters. And, they told us that they were there. All of them were there if we needed them. We didn't know what we needed at that point in time, but you would have thought that, they would have at least been out searching, trying to do something. It wasn't.
Or something.
So the night after he went missing, you were out searching, and the fraternity brothers were partying.
Mm-hmm.
What were you thinking?
We weren't very happy with them, to say the least. It's appalling.
You all received a letter from someone else who was staying at the same hotel, who described a little bit of what they heard that night that Riley went missing. I just want to read part of it. At first, I thought it was a bunch of drunk college kids being jealous of girlfriend-boyfriend stuff, but it was too loud and went on too long. They were in halls. I could hear them between the walls. The doors for the hotel rooms are very heavy, so they slam when you let them shut. I woke up at 3:15 a.m. to numerous doors slamming, kids in the hall, both boys and girls, having very loud discussions, going back and forth from rooms multiple times. It was like new kids kept showing up on the floor during the entire period. These kids were freaking out about something. Were you ever able to find out what was going on in the hotel that night?
From one of the friends that I talked to this week, apparently he had hurt his hand that night. Didn't really specify what he had done, but apparently it had to do with a hurt hand that night and people being emotional about it. Apparently it didn't have anything to do with Riley.
Do you think there's information that his frat brothers have that they're not sharing?
I feel like, yes, maybe. I mean, I haven't sat down and talked to any of them to say, tell me your whole entire story. Would I like that? Yeah, yes. It would be nice.
Now that you've found Riley, do you feel like you have a different purpose in terms, do you want to know everything that happened? Is there like a hole? How would you describe it?
Oh, of course, there's a hole in my heart. There always will be. And we may never know what happened that night. And that makes it even worse for me. But yeah, I would like to know everything that happened that day.
I don't understand why they haven't reached out to us wanting to provide information of that night. You know, maybe I'm crazy, but why should we have to reach out to them and beg them for information on a missing brother?
Did his brothers come to the funeral?
They did. They were shuttled down on a bus, basically chaperoned through. They were loaded back up on a bus and back to school they went again.
Do you think the fraternity is trying to protect the fraternity? I mean, in terms of like a lawsuit or reputation, or I mean, what do you think is happening behind the scenes?
I think it's a reputation blow.
I do. Yeah. There were a couple of things that happened over this last week. They had a memorial service for him in Columbia, and we were notified 3 hours before. Well, we know it takes 3 hours to get to Columbia. I mean, I thought this was a brotherhood, you know.
Riley Strain's
Crazy. Absolutely insane. I just don't understand it.
You know, that last part is really awful. They had a memorial service for him down in Columbia at Mizzou, the fraternity, the college did, and only notified the parents 3 hours ahead of time, knowing it takes them 3 hours just to travel there. So they literally could not go.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty crappy.
And look, I in any situation, I try and go good faith, right? Is there a good faith explanation and reason for this? And there could be in this situation. It could be that fraternities and how young in their 20s they are, they don't have a frontal lobe and they make the worst decisions ever, period, point blank, and are not responsible, not reliable, not empathetic, just not all the way there like someone with a fully formed frontal lobe.
That's not even the issue. It is an issue, but it's not the issue I'm thinking of.
What's dangerous is that these frats are allowed to run and function in universities and in situations like this with kids that are that unreliable.
Yeah,
you know,
unfortunately, universities cover it up. They help silence situations like this. They help cover things up because they don't want to lose money. And frats are money.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at frats as dollar signs for the university, because that's what they are. That is exactly what they are. So there's this culture of silence in universities to protect dumb college kids who are making dumb decisions.
Yeah.
What a terrible setup.
I agree.
No accountability and dumb drunk college kids.
Mm-hmm.
How much worse could it get?
Awful.
So, just to go through it point by point, you know, right when it started there, it said mountain of there. I don't know who they're talking about because it cuts in and it doesn't say who. I don't know if they're talking about their PI or the state investigators or whatever. I'm assuming it's the state investigators because they're specifically talking about the drink and the bar. But the dad, the biological dad, is saying they have mountains of evidence they're filtering through, and he's been in contact the whole time. And then they go into the 150 cameras at Luke Bryant's bar. And the fact that he was only in there for 21 minutes.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get into those bars.
Yeah.
It's not super fast. Like, I don't know if Luke Bryant's bar has a cover charge or not. Do you know? Have you ever looked that up?
I'm
not sure. But what did he do in 21 minutes when he had 1 beer and 2 waters to get kicked out that fast? Was he drugged at another bar like Kid Rock's bar? And then he gets to Luke Bryant's and it's kicking in. It's kicking in at that point. Because why was he okay to make it in the bar?
Or was his first drink there
and then
drugged? Because it only takes about 10 or 15 minutes
maybe
to kick in. And that's what the waters were for. Like, whoa.
right.
Something's
up. I'm getting really messed up. Yeah. He had his beer, it was drugged, and then he drank his water because he was like, oh my gosh, like this is too much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, frats only care about the frat. That's when this first was posted on Twitter, this part that was specifically about the frat, there's no cover charge. Okay.
Nope.
If they see a brother and it's gonna like that's really messed up and that brother's gonna mess up their fun, they may not help him out.
Yeah.
So I mean, all I know is if one of my friends was as messed up as he was, there's no way they're leaving the bar alone. No way. Not happening.
Mhm.
So Brian Itten basically asked, like, so I'm sure the frat and the celebrity bar owners would prefer you guys to stop talking. You know, he was pretty good, like,
pretty straightforward. Yeah.
And the parents said it basically doesn't add up or else they wouldn't be sitting there. And then they get into the frat police, the call. So this is one weird thing that I never brought up, but this whole time I've been questioning. The 911 call was released. Did you ever listen to the fraternity 911 call?
No.
You should pull it up. We should listen to it. I want to bring this up now because I find it odd. I find the 911 call odd, especially after the mother said the fraternity had not gone to the police before calling the mom. She's like, why didn't they call at 3:15 when they get back to the hotel and he's not there? He's been missing since 9:30, you guys.
Is this it?
Yeah. So he, for a long time, and then there's an 8-hour delay, which is really weird. 7 to 8 hour delay. Like, what's up with 8-hour delays? Before they even call the mom to let her know that he's missing. And then there's a 14-hour delay before they ever go to the police from the time he went missing.
Whoa. Okay.
From the time his phone last pinged to the time they report it to the police, 14 hours has gone by.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so go ahead, play the audio.
Saturday, March 9, 2024, 13:46 seconds.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hi, I don't have an address. I'm trying to file a missing persons report, and the central police is closed, and the sheriff's office said that we couldn't do it there.
Okay, so where exactly are you now?
We're in front of the central police, how do you say that? Precinct? How do you say that? Precinct. The Central Police Precinct on...
Okay, there's 601 Korean Veterans Boulevard and downtown right across from the Music City Center?
Yeah.
Okay, and is that where you're able to wait for a police officer to come and speak to you?
Yeah, we can wait for an officer here.
Okay, what's the phone number you're calling from?
Of my phone?
Yes, in case we needed to reach you back, what is the best number to reach you at? And what is your name, sir?
Brayden, Brayden.
Did you just give his last name?
And your last name?
Baltz.
Okay. And who is it that you're wanting to report as missing?
We're here on a fraternity formal trip. It's one of my good buddies.
Okay. What is his name?
His name is Riley Strain. Riley, Riley, Strain, Strain.
Okay. Is he white, black, Hispanic, Asian?
He's white. 22-year-old, 6'5", blonde.
Okay. And what was he last seen wearing?
Outside of Luke Bryan's bar last night at like 10. And then the last time his location on his phone was by the sheriff's office at like 11 p.m.
Okay, and what color clothing was he last seen wearing?
He's wearing jeans, boots, and a half black shirt, half brown, light brown.
Okay, and you said it last showed outside the sheriff's department?
Like around that area by the river, by the sheriff's department over there.
Okay. Does he have any life-sustaining medications or disabilities?
No.
And what is, you said he has a phone, so it's a cell phone, right?
Yeah, it's an iPhone 15 Pro Max.
What is the number?
But it's hold on. Give me 1 second. I got you. Sure. All right, you ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
You said the last four were 4198?
Yes.
Okay. And are you going to be waiting there at the door of the precinct, or are you going to be waiting in your car?
I mean, yeah, we're at the front door of the precinct.
Okay. I've got the call sent there at the Central Precinct, 601 Korean Veterans Boulevard in downtown, right across from Music City Center. We'll get an officer out to you as soon as we can. Please call us back if something changes before they arrive. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. Like I say, just call us back if something changes before they arrive.
That's fine.
All right.
We'll be here.
You.
So that 911 call struck me as odd. Did it strike you as odd?
Yeah.
So what do you notice about it that strikes you as odd?
Just the lack of urgency. So the tone and the delayed information, like it's being passed.
Like he's being told what to say.
Yeah.
And they're like, who are you reporting? Like he took so long to even say who Riley was.
Yeah.
And when he was asked who he was, a good buddy of mine. We're on a formal trip.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
Weird.
Like what? Why are you avoiding saying his name?
Yeah.
Say Riley Strain. He is this old. Like, you know, like we're not chilled, like little tiny, even little tiny children know to give a description.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, what is going on here? So that's immediately odd to me. And I was also thinking, wait, why were you going door to door from sheriff's department to police precinct? Why didn't you just pick up the phone and call 911? Why do you think they did that?
I have no idea.
Did they wait?
I don't know.
Well, did they feel the need to have a lawyer with them? And so they were rolling up with a lawyer in person? Like, what is going on there?
It could be, I mean, it could be the thing that we have seen over and over and over and over again, where
is that why it sounds like it's being fed to him? Because there's a lawyer.
The law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is absolutely a real thing. So I'm thinking it sounds like it's being fed to them. They're going door to door to try to be in person to make this report, but they're being told no, which is kind of weird too. I don't know why they would be told no. They're told to call 911. Are they wanting to be in person because they have a lawyer with them? And they're like, no, just call 911. So they call 911 and the lawyer's there feeding information and telling them what to say.
Could be. Could be.
It's just a thought. It may not be the case, but it's just a thought, especially since the fraternity has clammed up and isn't talking.
Mm-hmm.
They went to the funeral, but they're not talking to the family, like at all. So what did you think about what do you think about them going door to door to police precincts and sheriff's departments?
I have no idea. I'm not sure how I feel about it without being there.
Okay.
I don't know.
So also, I mean, yeah, the lack of urgency, there's zero urgency. There doesn't even seem like there's any concern in his voice. Them going door to door to police precincts, them it sounds like he's being fed information, him avoiding saying Riley's name. And he mentions that there were pings. Well, apparently Riley shared his location on his Snapchat account and a Life 360 account.
Okay.
So they could track him actively if he were using that application, which, I mean, you don't even have to use it, actually, I don't think. I think it just tracks you 20. Snapchat's terrifying. Please don't share your location on those apps. It's terrifying. It tracks people in real time, and anybody that follows you or can see where you are. It's really weird. Unless you only have it with like a family member and not, you know what I mean?
I do.
Anyway, so that's how they tracked him, was Snapchat apps, the Snapchat app. But I mean, the police tracked him through the Verizon cell phone towers, and then the family tracked him through Life 360. But that's what he was talking about, is his last ping was over by whatever sheriff's department or something like that. It's not actually a sheriff's department, I don't think. It's what we talked about before. There's a detention center over there. And hold on, I'm trying to police department, court. Yeah, some kind of court building or something. I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was weird all along. But I just didn't bring it up. I didn't want to be like the one being like, oh my gosh, the frat is so weird. You know?
No, it feels strange.
But now that the family's calling it out, I just have to call out that 911 call because I feel like it's really weird. So this massive time delay in reporting him missing is a huge deal. It's a massive deal. When somebody's missing, the first hours are so important. Think about if they had reported him missing when they got back at 3 a.m., think about how nearby he would have been if he had fallen in the river.
Yeah.
He would have still been very nearby.
Possibly.
And this search wouldn't have had to go 2
fast.
weeks. Yeah.
So I don't think so. I think if he was in the water the whole time, he'd be way down.
Right. Yeah. I think so too. But he wouldn't be as far as he was, even though he wasn't as far as we would expect him to be. So when the parents got to Nashville, the frat was out front with the police. The parents finished filling out their reports. The frat stayed for a little bit and then disappeared and came back in their formal attire to go to their formal. What do you think about them going to the formal while he's missing?
I think the whole thing is really strange. I do.
If you were in a fraternity,
need more information being down there, though.
If you were in a fraternity and chapters from the nation were there, and one of your brothers, literally in your chapter, went missing, somebody that you had been in the fraternity with for 4 years, maybe even were a roommate or an old high school buddy too, on top of it, because that's what they were saying. These are roommates and high school buddies, and you know what I mean, fraternity brothers of his. Would you go to the formal, or would you stay and search and help support his family?
I mean, I know the right answer to say, but I don't know without being in that position. I'm not sure. I mean, listen, all decisions are made based on factors that are going on within the situation. It is not black and white. I would love to simplify every decision down to a very black or white, a very black or white outcome, but it's not that.
But what if it was your best friend?
I don't know. I don't know the importance of that fraternity thing going on. I don't know.
Yeah, if it was my friend, it wouldn't matter. I would be out looking for them. Now, if it was somebody just a part of the same organization and I didn't personally know them, I don't know. That's a harder. But if it was somebody I knew and they were my friend and they had been missing, yeah, I would be helping. I would be helping look for them. And the fact is okay, say they all went to the formal, but then they helped look for him. That would be different. They didn't. They left.
They did.
None of them stayed and helped look for Riley. None of them. They all went back home. That's another thing on top of this. So say they thought, oh, it's no big deal. He's probably just drunk and went home with some girl and, are being dumb kids and making dumb decisions. Well, they didn't ever correct that. They didn't ever stay and help look. Like none of them ever helped look. Now, the parents did say they did offer, and there was about, there was almost 200 brothers down there.
Yeah.
And that they said, if you need us, we're here. But the parents are like, we didn't know what we needed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they just help? Like, why didn't they just go out of their own way to help look around for him? I understand that. I understand feeling that way. Them going to the formal that night is less of a big deal to me than the fact that nobody ever helped look for him.
Yeah.
The fact that nobody ever helped look for him is what's concerning to me.
I agree.
Because this went on for weeks. 2 weeks. Like, there had to be a certain point where they realized this was serious. That this wasn't just, he's off with some girl sleeping it off, or, you know what I mean?
Yep.
At some point, you have to realize it's serious. Yeah, and you would think the fraternity would volunteer, because aren't fraternities all about charity work?
Right.
Isn't that the whole point of a fraternity? Is public service, charity, being a part of the community. Right. So the letter from the hotel is also very interesting. So that night, when they get back around 3 a.m., when, Riley's missing, they get back and they don't call. There's apparently a bunch of heavy doors slamming. This person that wrote this letter to the family said they were woken up by all these heavy doors slamming in the hotel, boys and girls, kids apparently coming from other floors. People are going in and out of room to room in the hotel, and more people are coming, and there's very loud discussions going on, and kids are freaking out. And that the dad talks to one of the kids only recently, and he said he hurt his hand that night, and emotions were running high. People were emotional about it, and it had nothing to do with Riley. Isn't that odd?
Yeah, I do think it's odd.
Why would that many people care about a guy hurting his hand?
All these details are just details that are so in the moment,
separated and in the moment, yeah.
And it's hard for me to comment on it. Like, I have really hard time commenting on what I think something is, because I know people aren't reliable. So I don't want to take just what people are saying with words.
Because I would love to see hotel camera footage.
Yeah.
Because this person could just be overhearing some drunk horsing around and door slamming and people messing around and playing and going, because they're drunk. They just got back from the bar.
Yeah.
They could potentially be hearing some messing around. Maybe people are wrestling, maybe they're having a party in the hotel. Like, who knows, I wish that person had quoted some things that they heard. Now, apparently, one of the fraternity members did talk to the dad, though, and said emotions were running high, that they were upset because of this guy's hand getting hurt, though.
Yeah.
One of the fraternity members the
On
guy
that
who
video.
hurt his hand did tell the dad that.
Yeah.
Why would his hand be hurt and why would so many people care? Why would emotions be running high about his hand being hurt?
Yeah.
And what does that have to do with Riley, if anything at all? It is just weird timing that when they get back to the hotel, there's this situation going on and somebody's hand is hurt and they're claiming it has nothing to do with Riley. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting that none of the fraternity members have sat down with the family, have reached out to the family, tried to tell them everything they know about what happened. And, you know, they made it kind of a big deal that the fraternity was shuttled to the funeral and chaperoned through and then shuttled back up and taken out of the, taken back to Mizzou. Do you think that's a big deal?
No.
No, I don't think so. I think really we're just seeing really hurt feelings from the parents that they feel like, this is supposed to be Riley's brothers. This is supposed to be like a brotherhood that he was supposed to be in for the rest of his life. And they don't seem to care, like, at all.
That's how the parents feel.
And that's hurting their feelings a lot.
Yeah.
And they have unanswered questions. And the fraternity is not being open and transparent. And neither are the cops. So what do you think they're going to start looking at them sideways?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, as they should.
Yeah.
Why not be open and transparent about this if it was just an accident? They said they felt it was a reputation blow to the fraternity. Do you think this happening to Riley is a reputation blow to a fraternity? In all reality? Him accidentally falling in a river while drunk?
Mm-hmm.
It is?
Yeah.
While they're on a trip?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, absolutely. It looks horrible. They should have been more responsible. Yeah. It makes me judge them.
So what? Why? Like, why exactly? What makes them
they
look
let
irresponsible?
their friend who was drunk go out of the bar.
Yeah, it's just like a school field trip. Imagine it like a school field trip. If the teachers were to allow a child to wander off and get lost and fall in a river and pass away.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same idea. Like, this is an organization. It's a fraternity. They're all supposed to have each other's backs. Like, they're going down there on this trip for school, for their fraternity, and one of them is kicked out of a bar and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody helps take care of him. Nobody pays attention. Nobody helps look for him. So yeah, I think it does look bad. And them clamming up, not helping look for him, cutting off the family, it only makes them look worse. So if they have somebody on PR telling them to do this, bad idea. Like, not good PR. But that's really it for now on Riley. I thought the parents' interview was really, really interesting. They're really strong, keeping this in the media, talking about it, talking about their concerns, asking questions. But I feel really bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
If it truly is an accident, MPD, or Nashville police, they just need to come out and give them the evidence.
Yeah.
So that they can heal. This is all delaying their healing. It's keeping the wound fresh because they don't know what happened. I don't know. I think there's a major problem with fraternities and the way they handle things. And I think this even shines more of a light on it. And even though there's laws against hazing now, I think it's only in like 15 states. There's many more issues than just hazing at play here. Like, he wasn't being hazed. He was a senior. This was his 4th year. It's just the general lack of care and the fact that they care more about the fraternity as a whole than the individuals in the fraternity. Anyway, I hope the parents get answers. And yeah, that's it.
All right. And that is it for Thought Riot Podcast, episode 39 or 40? Episode 40. And make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, hit that comment under the video, and follow us on all of our social medias at Thought Riot Podcast. You can support us on Patreon and YouTube, but we also have free tiers as well. So if you can't support, that's perfectly fine, no problem. We still want you to come hang out with us, and we have free tiers set up just for that and you. So come hang out. Our Discord is free as well, and you just got to follow that link that I just posted there in the chat. But yeah, we appreciate all of you being here, appreciate everything you guys are doing, and we will see you next time.
Yes, have a great night, everyone.